like to call the Iberia Parish Council meeting August 26, 2015 to order. We could all rise. We bow our head. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day. We thank you for our family and for our friends. Lord, we thank you for the freedom that we enjoy here tonight. We ask that you watch over our troops that protect the freedoms we enjoy here. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings that you have given upon us. We ask that you guide us through this meeting and that we have a safe return to our family after we finish tonight. In these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Mr. Bruce Harvey, will you sing the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Maggie Daniels. Here. Danny Davis.
Here.
Tommy Landry.
Here.
Lloyd Brown.
Here.
Bernard Broussard.
Here.
David Ditch. Ricky Gonsalas.
Here.
Glenn Romero.
Here.
Roger Duncan.
Here.
Jerome Fitch.
Here.
Ackland Arnold.
Here.
Marty Trahan.
Here.
Wayne Romero.
Here.
And Troy Como.
Here. We have a quorum. We'll get started. Approval of minutes, regular meeting, August 12, 2015. Moved by Mr. Wayne Romero, second by Mr. Trahan. Discussion, comments? Roll call. That motion carries. Persons to address the council, Mr. Eddie Guidry to announce his candidacy for the 16th District Judge, Division D.
Members of the council and the audience, my name is Eddie Guidry. I'm running for the 16th Judicial District Judgeship. It's the seat vacated by Judge Jim McClellan when he passed away in March of this year. The election will be on October 24th. Tell you a little bit about me. I'm a lifelong resident of the 16th Judicial District. I'm from St. Martinville. I've graduated from high school at Catholic High School here in Iberia in 1974. Got a Bachelor of Science degree from LSU in 1978 and got my Juris Doctorate degree in 1981 from LSU Law Center. For the last 34 years, I've practiced law in and around South Louisiana. First for 4 years with the firm of McHugh and Guidry, and then for the last 30 years with Guidry and Guidry. I've tried both judge and jury trials in state and federal court throughout South Louisiana. I've argued cases before both state and federal courts of appeal, and I'm one of the few lawyers from Louisiana to ever argue a case before the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. For the last 11 years, I've served as magistrate of the St. Martinville City Court. I'm running for judge because I want to bring honesty and fairness back to the judiciary. All too often, people come to court and cases are decided on a relationship of the judges with the parties or the judges with the lawyers. And what's important is that cases be decided by the facts and the law. Something happened to me when I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore in college. My dad was a judge in the 16th Judicial District. I think he was elected in 1968. And in 1976, he decided to run for the Court of Appeals. And during that election cycle, he was contacted by a man named Mr. Zim. And my dad had no clue who Mr. Zim was. So he called Mr. Zim. Mr. Zim said he wanted to put on a function for him. And Mr. Zim told my dad that several years earlier, he had tried a case for Mr. Zim in his court in St. Martinville. And Mr. Zim's lawyer had told him that the facts and the law were in his favor, but that he was a Lafayette resident, he had a Lafayette lawyer, and he was coming to St. Martinville to try a case on a property dispute against a St. Martinville resident with a St. Martinville lawyer, so that he might get a little local justice. Well, Mr. Zim didn't get local justice. He got true justice. The case was decided on the facts and the law, and Mr. Zim won. So he wanted to elect my dad to the Court of Appeals to make sure that he had an honest judge on the Court of Appeals. That's the kind of judge that I want to be, and I would appreciate your vote and your support. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to visit with us. Number 2, persons applying for consideration of appointments to parish boards and commissions to address the council to announce their interest in said position. Anyone here applying for a board or commission would like to speak? Hearing none.
Look, I'll say, look, this vote back and forth between me and Pat, I think I said when I introduced myself, I've known him since he was a kid. I like myself and I like Pat. I don't think you can make a mistake. I'm just going to withdraw from this one, and I hope they call me over for consideration for the next place. Congratulations, Pat.
Item number 3, Mr. Craig Romero, Executive Director of the Port of Iberia, to address the council to provide an update on projects at the port. Mr. Romero?
Carl, you stole the show. That tells people in this community what kind of person you are, because it took a lot, and it almost makes me cry because I know both of y'all very well, and it just means a lot to everybody in this room, Carl. And I mean, your volunteerism has done so much for everything we do in this community. Don't stop. Please don't stop, because we can't do it without you, Carl. Thank you very much for what you just did. I'm here tonight representing the port, and I'm here because I made y'all a commitment a couple of months ago when we first started talking. And I have with me tonight 3 of my commissioners, Mr. Larry Rader, who is appointed by the Parish Council, Mr. Gene Jeffries, appointed by the Village of Laurelville, and Mr. Simeon Todil from Jeanerette, appointed by the City of Jeanerette. And we're here tonight. Our other commissioners had a bunch going on. They've been real busy, but I'm here tonight because I'm here simply to introduce a person that's going to come, and it's because of a vote that you all took. Every one of you took a vote without hesitation to put up $1.5 million of the tax increment financing money that's intended for economic development, to spur economic development. Well, I'm going to back up and let Mr. David Taldo with the Bayou Companies come and show you what you got for your money. Mr. Taldo? There's a letter in there he wants to see, but he's gonna. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Turn the rendering so they can see it on TV.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, council members, for letting us speak tonight. What we've handed out to you is our Senior Vice President and General Manager, Matt Stewart, cannot be here tonight. So represented by you is myself and our General Manager, which some of you probably know, right? Everybody knows? So Mr. Inges. So basically, I'm going to paraphrase his letter because I don't want to read it to you. The important things here is he just wants to express his deep desire to say thank you, because without the money for you guys, we would not have been able to make some of the upgrades that we're going to be making around the port, around our facilities. And I know it's not always that you lend out money and go to get TIF money where people come back and appreciate it and say thank you. But that's what we want to do from the Bayou Companies, from our parent company, Aegeon. Basically, what Matt's been doing here, he's been with the company for about 5 years, and he's recently taken over as the Senior VP and General Manager for the Bayou Companies. And just with his leadership and the overall leadership that's changing throughout the Bayou Companies, there's a lot of change coming on, a lot of good, positive vibes. Now, are we going to change completely? No, we're going to stay a cornerstone member of the Acadiana communities, namely Iberia Parish, and also deeply into the port. So with this letter, like I said, I'm not going to read it, but I would like to give you some numbers of what's going to be going on. And if I could just bear with me for a minute. Like I said, we do want to say thank you for the Acadiana communities. Special thanks go to Iberia Parish and to the port, Mr. Craig Romero. I think without his support, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are right now. What's the future bringing? Due to non-disclosure agreements, we've been limited by our client what we can say, how much information we can put out, but I can give you some good numbers and you'll be fairly impressed. We had several locations that we could have put this new facility. You see the rendering here in front of you. It's a 56,000 square foot facility. It's going to be state-of-the-art insulation material that no one does right now. No one makes it. But we opted to keep it here locally in the New Iberia area, and for multiple reasons. One, we are we've been here 75 years in excess. So they are a cornerstone of the facility or of the community, and they want to stay that way. They want to support the area, support the people. Bayou presently employs right around 300 employees with a happy mix of what we term SSEs, short service employees, and also full-time employees. We are beginning to start hiring full-time, and which is just going to bring more revenue to the economy here. In 2014, our payroll was $7.4 million that we infused into the area. That was a slow year. 2015 looks very, very promising, as does the future. So that number is just going to go up. With the new facility, it will be built on the property at the port, at the corner of Port Road and Curtis Lane. As I said, it's going to be 56,000 square foot. The initial employment is going to be 15 to 20 person. That's going to be one shift at this time until we get all our bugs worked out and we know what we're doing. Because like I said, it's a new process. The initial project is $39 million. Okay. Once it's up and operational, there is a potential of almost $500 million, with a B, billion, potential of work coming to this area. If you look at what's going on in the Gulf, deep water, that's exactly what we're going to be there for. Okay. Our forecasts, as we see it now, are looking strong. I think we're looking forward to a very strong 2016, 17, even into 2018. No one has a crystal ball, but that's what we're seeing. We have the capability, we have the talent, and that talent came from local. It's not shipped outside, except for me. I was shipped in. So I've been a resident of Louisiana now for 4 years, 3 years up in Shreveport, and then I've been here a year. And been very acquainted with the culture, love it, and plan on staying. So as I say, we are going to be a viable employer in the area. And if you have any questions at all, I'd be glad to answer them if I could.
Any questions? On behalf of the Iberia Parish Council and the people of Iberia Parish, we want to thank you for choosing Iberia Parish, for being here, for staying here, and growing our community. And we thank you for taking the time to come by and visit with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anything else, Mr. Romero? You good?
Wouldn't have been possible without y'all participation. Y'all really know, and I want the world to know, Iberia Parish Council had the good sense to realize where to spend the money, and we can all prosper as a result of it. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Call anytime.
Reports, finance and administration action, we have none. Reports, parish and other governmental agencies. Item number 1, reports by the project engineers on various ongoing projects, including grant-funded projects, all in accordance with resolution number 2013-49. Any comments? Public Works reports. Public Works Department's report for closed work orders dated August 3rd through 7th and August 10th through 14th, 2015. Any questions or comments? Special business, we have none. Council member announcements. I want to just give you a quick update. We are continuing to collect information on the BP damage settlement claims. There was an article in the newspaper written by our president 2 weeks ago, I believe. Today, I was told. And I just want to share a little bit of information that we've received in the meantime, somewhat contrary to what was stated in that letter to the editor. From the website, online research that was done from bpclaim.com, information there says that the class settlement was preliminarily approved on May 2nd, 2012, and began accepting and processing claims in June of 2012. So I'm not sure how the previous administration would have had any input about the application process if it didn't start until months after this administration took office. I was returning from vacation and stopped in Houma, in the Houma area, and saw a news report on the TV that came from the Associated Press. And I just wanted to share this information. We're going to put a package together and share this in more detail over the next upcoming weeks. But the Associated Press announced that more than $8.2 million went to 33 government agencies more than 100 miles from the coast. In fact, Birmingham, Alabama, which is 200 miles from the coast, received $1 million. Ruleville, Mississippi, which is somewhat northeast of Monroe, received as much as $40,000. BP just settled recently for $687 million with 383 local entities in 5 different states. And this is all compensation for lost tourism revenues and economic damages from the 2010 oil spill. So for someone to state that we would not have been eligible for any damage claims is quite interesting at best. So we will continue to investigate what other parishes and entities got money, just to keep you abreast. And it seems as though we missed the boat on as much as $1 million from Birmingham, Alabama, some 200 miles of the coast, from the coast. So that's quite disappointing, especially in this economic depression. Our government, this government could have used that money to better serve the people of Iberia Parish. So I'm regretfully, in addition to that, I'm not sure what the administration thinks their responsibility is, but in no way is this council responsible for day-to-day operations and handling and creating financial reports for these type of applications. So for the president and his administration to say that this council is responsible for that type of action, it clearly states and shows that the president is not engaged in day-to-day operations and what's going on in our parish. And I say that because the blame is being put on this council continuously over and over. And one of these council members said back in 2012, and I'll never forget it as long as I live, if we continue to do the job for the president, he will continue to let us do the job. And that's exactly what has happened. These council members have spent countless hours so that the people of Iberia Parish and our government do not suffer and would not suffer. This one slipped through the cracks. But I want the people to know that in no way, the way this government operates, should any council member be responsible or even insinuate that we would be responsible for creating financial documents to apply for this kind of money and to blame it on someone else is ridiculous. And we will package, I will make sure that this information is packaged and put out to the public. Any other comments? Parish President announcements.
Railroad Road Bridge over Jefferson has begun construction. David Dubois Bridge will mobilize on Monday, and construction will begin sometime next week. That'll make you happy.
Yes, sir. Very happy.
Mr. Raines?
Oh, you finished? I just wanted to give you an update. You may recall a couple months ago we hired Charlene Picard, commonly referred to as Charlie Picard, as the floodplain manager for Iberia Parish. Well, just as of late as 3 weeks ago, she passed her certified floodplain manager received her the certification as the floodplain manager. So I wanted to give you that update and just let you know that everything is fine. We never were in danger or in peril, but we have accomplished that goal, and we do have 2 other employees that are proceeding with securing their certifications as well.
Thank you, Mr. Raines. We appreciate that update. Any questions for Mr. Raines?
No, that's it. Thank
Need a motion to go into public hearing. Moved by Mr. Fitch, second by Mr. Gonsalas to go into public comment. Roll call. We're now in public session. Anyone from the general public would like to speak to any item on the agenda tonight, please address us at the podium. Please state your name and your address for the record and which item you're speaking to.
Good evening. My name is Roxy Blanton, 303 West Tampico Street, and I'm the president of the library board. I'm speaking to summary number 4692. I come here tonight to respectfully request that you reconsider your proposal to reduce the library's millage from the current 4.43 to 2.8. With 2.8 as our ceiling for the next 4 years, it could possibly mean the end of the building project, which would leave the communities of both Laurelville and Coteau without nearby library services. If the economy takes a turn for the worse, and 2.8 no longer collects what it does today, we could possibly be looking at the reduction of library services parish-wide. This means that even if the future administration wanted to save your award-winning library system, they couldn't. Once again, for the sake of everyone who uses the library for homework, resumes, job applications, books, programs, meeting rooms, audiobooks, Xeroxing, faxing, scanning, DVDs, newspapers, magazines, books for the blind and physically disabled, reference services, children's services, interlibrary loan services, distance learning exam proctoring, computer classes, life writing classes, lectures, etc. Please reconsider your plans to reduce the library's millage. Thank you.
Any questions, Ms. Roxy? Ms. Roxy, I have a question. As I see the budget, and after the library builds a new library branch in Laurelville and in Coteau, the projected fund balance is right at $5 million. The projected millage, lowering the millage, puts the library, without any cuts, at a deficit about $250,000 a year. Can you tell me how, if the library didn't cut its budget at all, can you tell me how you could forecast that you would need to cut services with a $5 million budget surplus or fund balance? At $250,000 a year decrease, in 4 years you would still have over $4 million in fund balance. Can you explain to us how you project to have to cut services with $4 million in the bank?
Well, true, the money is there to build the libraries, but you have to run the libraries too. And currently, the budget right now, if in 4 years we won't have $5 million. if we run it on a 2.8, it's still gonna cost the same thing to run it, unless we cut services severely. We're just not gonna have the money to continue operating with the services we have today. Kathy, would you like to address that?
I think we did a kind of a projection of what it would take in 4 years. We understand that 4.43 collects X number of dollars. 2016 may not collect that. 2017, maybe even less. 2018. You know, I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. I mean, we're not asking that you necessarily keep us at a particular level. I think what we're asking is that you keep us at a particular level this year. Just, if nothing else, to safeguard what may happen in the next few years. I just finished the budget, and my projected income for 2016 is less than I had it for 2015. So I didn't have as much revenue sharing, I didn't have as much ad valorem, so I had to reduce the budget. And I mean, I went by the spreadsheets I was given. So with that in mind, it's very possible we could be looking at no new buildings in those two communities. And I want you to understand that the new buildings, so say the new buildings, are not by choice. It is because the current buildings in those two communities are in very bad shape. And we have been holding it together with a prayer, pretty much, crossing our fingers that well, I don't want to say this on camera, that the Safety Commission won't come in. I mean, we have rebar showing in Lauraville. We have weak floors in Lauraville, in Coteau. Every time there's a large group of children in there having story time, we're always concerned that they're not going to go through the floor. Lauraville rains in the building all over the electrical boxes. I mean, this is not a choice. This is something we have to do to keep a presence there. If we don't do this, then they have no presence there because they're going to be shut down. There's just no question about it. I mean, I wouldn't want them to stay open the way they are. That's not safe. So I don't want you to think this is us sitting in a room saying, you know what, let's just build a library. That's not it at all. And nor are we looking at cutting services because we want to. This is not extortion. This is not a threat. This is reality. And I mean, I'm not here to be all gloom and doom and say that, you know, if you don't do it, then we're not going to have any library service. What I'm trying to say is nobody's paying anything today, even in your homes, that you're paying less for today than you did 2 years ago. And it's the same thing in a library. It's the same thing in a business. And so I guess what we're coming here to say is, you know, it doesn't have to be 6. Keep us at 4.43. Let's look at it again next year. I mean, that's all we're saying.
So I agree. It's been a long time since I've been to the Lauraville, to the Coteau Library, and you guys have done a great job keeping that thing open because the floor was falling through many years ago. So, but back to the question, the budget shows that you guys, after you pay for the 2 new libraries, the 1.1, I believe, in each location, after we pay for that, is that correct? We're projecting a $5 million fund balance. So a $250,000 deduction in revenue, or reducing the revenues in each year. If you didn't do anything, if you didn't cut your budget at all for 4 years, you would spend $1 million out of your fund balance.
Right.
You would still have $4 million. I need to understand, if you're asking me to vote to change.
If it stayed like it is today, But nobody knows that.
Do you realize that in some 10 years ago, the library collected about $900,000 in revenues? And today, we're collecting over $2.5 million a year because of the growth of Iberia Parish? Do you realize that in 10 years, you're getting $2.5 million per year?
I don't believe we ever collected. I mean, when I got my budget packet, the current ad valorem tax showed, anyway, a $700,000 decrease. I went from 2.7 in 2014 to 2. So, I mean, either the budget packet was wrong, or, so I based it on 2, taking $500,000 out of fund balance. And that was without the building projects.
I'm going off of the information that the administration gave us.
Yes.
And
And
do you
so
remember-
am I.
Yeah. Do you remember the conversation when you came here and we talked about whether or not we needed 2 more libraries? And we asked for a study, and your comments were, a study will never show that we need to have 2 more libraries?
Well-
Can I just finish? Because this is important. You said right there that we're spending the money because we have it.
We're spending the money because those 2 I mean, that's your choice. That's the board's choice. I don't want to be the ones to tell Lowerville and Coteau they're not having a library. They do get used. I mean, they do. The Parks and Recreation has put a sort of something like they have in Willowwood out at Coteau Park. So we have tremendous number of children. Are they checking things out? No, because they don't have their library cards or their parents' permission. Are they using the library? By all means.
I don't think there's any question about whether people are using the facilities or not. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just saying that this lady, Miss Roxy, just said you guys are gonna have to cut.
We could
possibly
possibly cut.
So I'll need to understand, if you're asking me to consider rolling or keeping your millage up, I need for someone to explain to me, after the 2 new libraries are built and furnished, you'll have a $5 million fund balance. If you do nothing to your budget, you'll have a $4 million fund balance in 4 years. How do you have to cut?
The 2016 budget came in at 5.5 million. So, I don't know where to tell you. I mean, we didn't,
Mr. Gonsolin, thank you.
Ms. Miles, just for information, brother, and by the way, y'all do a great job and commend your efforts, but, you know, it's basically what Troy's asking. You know, in 2004, the library collected $996,000. 2014, y'all collected $2.7 million, 10-year span, increase every year. Proposed, if this budget passed, I mean, if these millage passed tonight, and we don't know that, you'll get $1.7 million. That's proposed. But what I'd like to tell you is, Ms. Blanton stood up there and made a statement that if we approve 2.8, then the next 4 years, we can't increase the millage. That's not true. This council will never close the libraries down. And next year, we can roll those millages up if we choose to do so. So,
we were under the impression that on an assessment year, it was a ceiling.
that's incorrect. And you'll be, Mr. Mr. Huval explained that to you tonight, but you can roll it up next year because it was voted on this year and approved by the voters. So we're not saying, nobody's here saying we want to close the libraries. We're just saying we want to reallocate funding to different portions of the parish where we do need it. We're mandated by the government to pay health care for the prisoners. We just got approval to take $1 million out of public health and move it to pay for the prisoners' health care. That's public safety. You know, we're shifting money to the needs of this parish and trying to hold the current millages down for the economy, the business owners of this parish can prosper in hard times. Nobody's picking on the library. We're just trying to do our job as elected officials to better allocate the funding towards mandated costs. That's all we're doing. And for y'all to say that y'all gonna have to shut down libraries, that's so inaccurate. This council would not allow that.
We didn't say we would shut down libraries. We may have to cut services.
Ms. Blanton just said that in 4 years you may have to close some libraries. She just said.
She said she would have to cut some services.
No.
Could possibly be.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
okay, so
Good.
possibly close libraries.
Because
okay.
we don't know,
Okay.
just like
Nobody
you don't
knows.
know.
Yeah. Nobody knows.
So you're making a decision just like we're making statements based on something that without a crystal ball, I mean, nobody knows. But I mean, it's a possibility.
We actually
Right.
have a track record, as
Yeah.
Mr. Gonson
I
has
got
said, that you
tremendous-
had an increase every year, except for 1 year in
For 1 year.
2011, after the oil spill. So you went from 900, roughly 1 million to 2.5 or 2.7 million.
2.7.
So
But
that's a
just-
track record. It's not a crystal ball, but it's a pretty good track record.
Well, like I said, when I got my budget packet, it was down. So, I mean, if either the budget packet was mistaken, or, I don't know.
But Ms. Miles, but by no means or I'm trying to insinuate that I'm against the law. I'm not against the law. I think y'all do a great job. Y'all operate your facilities wonderful, but I think, you know, y'all within your budget parameters, and y'all can continue doing the same job currently as you're doing now. But, you know, if you look at the scope of things, and you look like, say Lafayette, for instance, 2010 census, 221,000 people, 9 libraries. Iberia Parish, 2010 census, 73,000 people. So that tells me, and I know you look at the parameters, Iberia Parish is spread out a little bit more, I understand it. But if you just look at the sheer numbers of it, that tells me that maybe, this possibly, our libraries are underutilized and can accept more capacity at what we have. But no, by no means, you know, the 2 new libraries are gonna service those outland areas, great. But I wanna switch the tables a little bit. I'm gonna let you come sit right here, and I'm gonna go stand over there. 4 weeks ago, when several members of this council jacked those millages to max, that week, I got over 100 calls from business owners want to know, why are you increasing my taxes in these hard times? But I didn't get one phone call from the library because y'all walked out here with $1.2 million additional fund balance because we jacked the millages to 6.43. Roll the tables back, now we consider rolling the millages down. Guess what? I get 50 calls on the library complaining I'm getting $1 million cut. But y'all didn't complain about the $1 million raise y'all got. So, you know,
I don't
let's
think
wait. both-
anybody's complaining about, all we want is what we have.
Understand. I'm done.
Mr. Broussard?
You asked a question on how to answer things. I'm reserved to answer when we get back in regular session. But I do want to answer some of the things that you and Mr. Gonsolin just said. Me too. Because I think those are distorted because it's not taking all the facts in to those answers. And when we get back in regular session, the public has stopped their chance to do input where we are talking among ourselves. I want to walk through some of the numbers.
I look forward to it. Okay. Mr. Landry?
Yeah, and one thing I would like to say is, and kind of relates to what Ricky had to say, I think that the library system needs to meet with the parish council, no matter what happens after this vote, and communicate with the council, instead of not saying anything, but just whenever there's a vote, everybody comes in. I think your board needs to sit down with the finance committee and talk long range, and at least communicate, because you guys are a member of the parish employment community, and I think that needs to happen.
Once upon a time, there was a liaison designated by the administration of one of the council members to attend the board meetings. And that hasn't happened in a long
Well, and
time.
that's what I think needs to happen, because I think it would get rid of all this controversy, animosity. We're not against y'all. You're not against us. We want this, we want this thing to work, okay? And the attitude that have been expressed right now are unfounded. I'm telling you. No one called my cell or my house about this vote from the library. And I'm like Ricky. My phone rang off the wall with the increase in the property taxes. So I just think y'all need to communicate to us what y'all needs are and are gonna be, and we sit down and then we work this thing out. That's what's gonna be the best thing for the parish and for y'all, I believe.
Well, I thought I did that in the budget process.
Well, I think, especially with the economic times like they are now, I think everybody needs to come to the table. Because, we're in a recession, we may be in a depression, I don't know, but things need to change as it relates to communication between agencies in this parish, financial part of it, and administration. And hopefully that's gonna happen in 140 days.
Mr. Brown?
I'm gonna wait too.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? You? Good? Yes, we can make your way to the podium. We'll get y'all. Yeah, we still in public session. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name for the record.
Edith Hallmark, 129 Rosier Street in Iberia. I represent the public. I'm not on the staff of the library. I use the library a lot. The cost of living, we know, is going up. The economy is going down. I know this is a parish tax. There may be fewer people buying homes. People may be selling homes. So the income on this millage may be going down. The money that they're, quote, sitting on, known that that is going to be going to build the 2 new libraries. But you were saying, okay, you have this balance of 500, whatever it was, 5 million, billion, whatever. A little bit nervous. Anyway, I got to thinking while I was sitting here, okay, we're in hurricane season. Suppose one of the libraries is decimated. They're going to need funding to replace that. It's always a good idea to keep an emergency fund on hand. And that I would consider being the emergency fund. That way, we can rebuild the library without having to raise any more taxes or a bond or whatever. So I'm all for a cushion. Might be 2 libraries devastated by a hurricane. This year, next year, whatever. So let's keep a cushion in there. I think from the computer printouts that they've run, all the libraries are being used at a satisfactory rate. The computer uses are up. I don't have a computer. A lot of people can't afford computers. As the economy goes down, people are going to maybe have to cut out their computer use. The libraries are needing more computers. The special programs that the library has, they're good PR for the library. They're excellent. It would be a shame to have to cut any of those programs. To decrease their income from the 4.3 to the 2.2 is it's like asking someone to take a half cut in their salary. You know, we've got a project of what might be coming down the line. So I strongly encourage y'all to keep the 4.43 millage as it is, to take into consideration the increased cost of things, the decreased economy that might be coming, that they might have a decreased income from this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Carla Hostetter, 3922 Avenue, Bonne Terre. I'm the former director of the Iberia Parish Library, which I served for 22 years. When I came here in 1982, the library millage was 3 mills, more than you're proposing that it run on today. It wasn't adequate then, and the oil bus came along. We dropped our bookmobile service. Employees didn't have raises for several years. A lot of cuts were made because of that. Now we know we're going into another period of time like that. And yet you're asking the library to operate on less than it did in 1982 when it comes to millages. It seems unreasonable to me to cut it. They're not asking you for the full 6 meals. They just like to collect the 4.4 they have been collecting. A lot of that will go into new branches. And those 2 new branches will be bigger, and they will be better, and they will take more air conditioning and a lot more computers and a lot more books to make them good, viable branches to serve those towns. It's going to take more from the library budget to keep those branches open, bigger and better as they are. Now you compare us to Lafayette. Lafayette builds palaces for their library. They are, oh yes, have you seen them? They are the most gorgeous things I've ever seen on the face of this earth, and I wish New Iberia had that much support from its local government that it could build that kind of buildings and give that kind of fantastic services to their people. We're only asking for 2 modest branches, people, and that's what this money was intended for all along. And a lot of that money will go towards operating those branches, especially if the economy slides down the tubes like it did in 1983. We got through it. I doubt if we ever collected that full 6 mills, but boy, it came in handy when the bottom dropped out of everything around here and people weren't paying their property taxes anymore. And we survived through that time, and we thrived and we grew. And we need that kind of support from our parish council to keep us going forward in the future. If I had a business looking for a place to occupy right now, and I heard this nickel and diamond of the library system, use up your fund balance, don't build new branches, all this other stuff, I would move to Lafayette and take up their offer. I wouldn't locate here because it's embarrassing to not have the support of the council. So I'm sorry, but I've seen it over the years. This isn't the first time. So yeah, not the first time at all. So I hate to see it coming up yet again. It seems like an endless battle that we never have the full support of the council. And it's kind of pathetic when you think about it. You want your town to grow and thrive, you want an educated community, but you don't want to support the things that do it best. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Chris Jordan. For the council members who don't know who I am, we have a small company named Vermillion Business Group. With the original proposed rolling the millages up, it would cost my company about $40,000 additional a year. And certainly on our tenants, we would have to pass that on, whether you live in a house or you rent a storefront from us. So we're going to have to increase those costs to those tenants, and that'll make their decisions whether the commercial ones stay in Iberia Parish or the ones in the residential houses. I don't care if you're in West End, across the bayou, or wherever, whether they can afford to stay in that house. Because it's going to be passed along somewhere. So there's no secret that it's money that comes in that's not going to affect whether you're in a high income stream or in a poverty side. Somebody's going to pay for it. I was looking at your parish building permits. Your income is down 82% from last year to this year. 82%. That should tell y'all something, that there's nothing going on. So if you think raising property values or taxes is going to spur these building permits, I think you're wrong. There may be a couple isolated cases like at the port. That's a large publicly traded company. I believe they're out of Canada, and they're a downstream user of the oil field. They're coating pipe for pipelines. As everyone sitting in this room knows, most oil field companies have laid off hundreds and thousands of people. The first wave in Lafayette Parish hit probably 2 months ago. There was 22 repossessed houses. That was probably the first group that got laid off in January. That's only going to ramp up as those numbers increased since January. People will be losing their houses. So for us to roll the millages up, I mean, I think you're really killing the golden goose. You know, if business can't survive and thrive, I mean, you are. I'll give you a good example. As someone just said, Iberia Parish is 70,000 people, about 30 in the city. Thibodaux, Louisiana, had 14,000 people. They're building an academy there. An academy. What are we building? Nothing. Because I'm in commercial development. I know what's going on in this town. There's nothing going on. And your building permits speak to that. So the only way we can get this parish moving is being progressive. Put your best foot forward out there, whether it's Mike Tarantino at IDF or someone from the parish council. If the parish president's office is unable to develop new businesses or help promote them in here, someone from the council step up and put Iberia Parish's best foot forward and say, we are open for business and we want you here. That's what, and if we grow it, like Youngsville, Lafayette, and Broussard, instead of our kids and grandkids moving over there, maybe they'll stay here, because once they move, they're not coming back. They're just not. So I would really ask for y'all to consider that, you know, rolling the millage back to where it was in 13, because in my case, 40,000 is a lot of money. Whether it's me or a person that has a one rent house or one homeowner, you know, extra $100, $200 a year when I just got laid off. We own an oil field company. We opened about 3 years ago. I had 9 employees. We got 2 today. 2. And I hate to tell you, we moved to Broussard because it was easy to do business. When I needed to get my power on, I called. They turned it on the same day they read the meter. The company that took my old location, took them over a month to get the power on, because we had to get the inspectors all out there and all these other things that I didn't have to do in Broussard. What can we do for you? So I know y'all don't know this because you're not in that end of the business. But if someone doesn't wake up and realize that we are losing population, last census, 2010, we lost 2,006 people in the parish. You think they left because we got too much to offer? No. They left because somebody else is doing a better job and they got more to offer. And that was in 2010. I don't know how many people we've lost since then, but it's been quite a few. So ladies and gentlemen, please reconsider your vote on the millage. You know, I'm not in the library issue. I understand what you're saying, Troy, and I'm going to tell you I support it because that sounded like 20 years of deficit running. But please reconsider it. If we grow our community, you're going to get more taxes. I can give you a good example of every time a property changes hands in this parish, the parish council, the city, they get a rate increase. We had a Dollar General on Old General Road. I built it about $400,000, between $300,000 and $400,000, 10 years ago. And certainly it went up a little bit, but I sold it for a little over $700. So the parish got an increase from $400 to $700. So every time a piece of property sells, the parish council gets a rate increase. If Mr. McLean, I believe, is opening a subdivision in Coteau, I can give you an example. Shadows Bend, I was one of the spearheaders in Shadows Bend. Our property taxes then was $510 a year on that 54 acres. When I got my plat approved, the property taxes were $25,000. So the parish, the city got that huge increase, and we put the streets in, we put the sewer, we put the water in. Government had no investment in that at all. But they went from $500 to $25,000, and that was before the first house was built. So I think government gets a rate increase every day. Every day you get one. Every time a piece of property turns over, you get a rate increase, unless all the property values are going down. If you roll the millage up like you suggest, yes, property values are going to go down because it's based on income stream, net income. So if I have something that nets $1,000 a year, it's worth this. If it nets $700 a year, it's worth that much less. Because you got to look at how much is my note. When people buy houses, how much is my note? Just like buying a car. How much can I afford? And so when you throw all these other costs in there that don't generate anything for the homeowner or the property owner, I mean, you're killing the golden goose that grows the community. You know, I know y'all hear it. We're going to end up like Franklin. We're going to end up like Generat. Well, let's be proactive, not end up that way. Let's get somebody promoting the parish. What can we do to get you here? We are open for business.
Please clarify that we don't get a raise every time that,
well, unless the property's sold for less
that
money.
We don't, us 14
No,
don't
the
get a
parish
raise.
council, the
Right.
parish,
I just want to make sure,
I'm
you
not
know,
talking
people,
about y'all.
you know, we got bad
Guys.
information going
Yeah.
around, Mr. Jordan. We want to make
I-
sure that people don't, on TV land, don't think that we get a raise every time that the piece of property is sold.
I understand.
I'm just picking at you, but
Yeah,
it's-
I
I just want to
understand.
make sure, you know, things.
I know y'all don't get a raise every time. Y'all been here for a long time. But please reconsider it. You know, because business, if you think we're in an economic depression, raise everybody's taxes and see how much more property goes on the tax sale notices.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, people are at the end. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Cliff Slisher. I live at 206 Shady Oak Lane. I'm here in support of the library. And I'd like to start out by saying I think part of the reason the library has such a good fund right there is because they've done such a good job of managing the funds they had available. And I congratulate them on that. I have a number of things that I was going to say. Most of those topics have already been covered. But one of the reasons that I was most set against this decrease is my understanding, as several people in the library had the same understanding, that if a millage is set in an assessment year, that it's locked in for the 4 years. Now, that's what's set on one side, and I see Mr. Gonsalves leaning back and looking at the other people and shaking his head. All I'm going to ask you, you said one thing, we've been led to believe something else. I want a definitive answer, because what it comes down to, you talk about, well, we got to move funds around. I got no argument with that concept. But what we really need is some flexibility. And what we've been led to believe is that if we do this now, there will be no flexibility for 4 years. So who's going to give us a real answer? Not, I said this, they said that. And Mr. Ricky Hewland, assessor, is here. And maybe he can answer that, I don't know. But I'll say this about that. We need a definitive answer which way it is before we move ahead with this proposition.
We agree. We agree.
Okay. It's been said several times, and I was here, you guys may remember me, the last time the library was being discussed. And there was a comment made that, are the libraries really used? Do we really need a library? Some of you actually said, well, people got the internet. Not everybody's got the internet. And to give you an example, job service, it used to be, you lose your job, you could go to job service. They'd go through your work records, find out what you were capable of doing. They'd send you out on interviews. That's not the case anymore. You go to job service, they send you to the internet. Okay? So the library is used very much in that case, and I would think that under the current economic circumstance, that's going to be under heavy use by a lot of folks. So that needs to be considered. Also, you've got the internet, people got computers, you don't need a library. Go 20 miles up 90 here. ULL, ooh la la. It's a university, there's books everywhere. Every student has to buy hundreds of dollars worth of books every year. And I can guarantee you, you don't see a single one of them going around that doesn't have a backpack with a computer in it. You go halfway down through the college on St. Mary, and what do you got there? A huge library. And guess what? You walk in there, it's used. 45 miles up I-10, LSU. They've all got books. They've all got computers. They've got more than one library. They've got a main one, and they've got several specialized libraries, and they're used. When I got out of the Air Force, I have a degree, but when I got out of the Air Force, I was considering some other job options. The library is the place that I went to get the information I needed to further my education to be able to move on and make some different career choices. Also, you know, we live in a time, and I hate to say it, but it's true. In South Louisiana, in the Cajun culture, everything's laissez le bon temps rouler. And I got no problem with that. But too much of our culture has gone the direction that that's all there is, you know, bon temps rouler, have a good time, drink a lot of beer. There's more to our culture than that. And our library goes a long way to maintaining that culture and passing that culture on. And I don't want to see it go by the wayside. We're also at a point, and once again, this has been mentioned several times today, but the oil industry is really down, and we don't know how far it's going to go. I know that's a real concern regarding millages. At the same time, we need to have an infrastructure, an educational infrastructure in particular, not just schools, but our library as well, to attract people here. One of these ladies had said that if they're coming over here and they find out don't have much of a library, we're starting to reduce our library services, you can kiss that goodbye. And we've got people from IDF here. You know, I think it's time to start looking. As good as the oil industry has been, the oil companies and the oil service companies, as good as they've been to Iberia Parish, and we hope it comes back and they continue on that path. we've got a huge, huge population of well-educated, hardworking people out there, that it's time to start looking too at bringing in some other types of businesses that aren't so tied to the oil field, to help us through, to give us a cushion through the tough times, because we had them in back in 82, 83. Looks like we're going to have it possibly worse this time. So to do that and bring people in, especially if it's any kind of highly technical stuff, those people want their kids to have access to a library. They're going to want to have a library as well. You can't give them the idea that we're kind of starting to soft pedal that. You know, what if they saw that all of a sudden the school board was doing less and less in the schools? So anyway, I'll let it go at that, but I don't think any move should be made on these proposals, on this resolution tonight, until we have a real clear understanding, a legal opinion if that's necessary, as to whether or not we're going to have the flexibility once these millages are set. Fair?
Fair enough.
Fair.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
What you see, Ricky gonna explain?
Yeah, we're gonna go back into regular session. We're gonna recognize Mr. Hevall whenever we get to that. That way we can.
Okay.
Anyone else from the general public? Please join us.
Sure, can I say something once you walk?
Yeah. Just take one pause for the cause. Mr. Ditch wants to just make a comment real quick.
Yeah,
and
Mr.
we're gonna let you
Salisha, and I
speak
think he
next.
might have walked out. But obviously, I know for the last time y'all here, me and him don't agree on much. But I think it is concerning to me, the point you made in regards to the maximum millages being in a reassessment year and us going off of that information. Because I believe if we would have had, if that information proves to be true, and I had a baby 2 days ago, so I hadn't had the opportunity to research this and see as far as, you know, what's the actual truth in regards to being able to reassess it. I don't think we'd be in a situation tonight if we would have voted on these millages without the assessment year information last time. I don't remember the exact numbers in the current proposal we had last time to start with, but before we raised them to the maximum out of fear of being able to not reassess, I don't think the library was cut nearly that much, if any, in the last proposal. So I think that just needs to be put out there too. We were working on half information, if that's right what I'm hearing from Mr. Salisha, when we made that decision a few weeks ago to roll those millages up to the maximum to get us here today. So I agree wholeheartedly. We need to get a definitive answer on that before we address any of this tonight, because I don't think we'd be sitting here tonight discussing this and getting, you know, the back and forth, the personal insults. That's not helping this parish. That's not helping anybody. And I think we need to get to the bottom of it before we do this and then have another issue where the information wasn't correct tonight. So I hope we can get that answer tonight before we vote on it. But if not, I agree. We definitely need to get the answers of what's fact and what's fiction before we vote on these millages.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
agree on something, Mr. Slisher.
State your name for the record, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Mary Spreitzer, and we're recent retirees that chose New Iberia as our retirement community. We looked at communities in Florida and Texas and Louisiana. And one of the real star features of New Iberia is your library system. You have a library system that compares with the finest in the United States. That was important to us. And the library has a mission of transmitting not just reading, but culture, there's appreciation for music. We have, my husband and I both have participated in the programs at the library since we've been here a few months, and we have met so many people. Everybody there is a real professional, and we've learned so much about the community, and we have felt so welcome here, in large part because of the library. It would be heartbreaking to me if you would abandon or let this fine institution become mediocre. This is one of the real stars of your community. You need to all be proud of it and what they've done and what they are doing for the community, and what they say to so many potential retirees and other citizens of what's available here, and what kind of people live here, that they would support and have such a fine library system in a small town. I don't think you know how unusual it is that you have, there's 3 wonderful libraries in this one small town, in addition to all of the libraries that are in the parish. So please, please consider what your effect would be on this fine institution and what you would be doing to the community. Now, the man who spoke before me, he's concerned about business, and he's concerned about people moving away. Well, I can tell you that if you would market yourselves as a retirement community, there's many reasons for people to move here. And actually, retirees are a pretty good business for a community. We don't have kids for you to have to educate anymore. And you've got 2 hospitals in the town.
Never say never.
You have some parks that need some work on them, but you've got wonderful potential there that you could have first-rate parks. You've got the Tesh through town. It's a historical town. Please support the library. And in no way could I see that you would cut their funding when the citizens agreed to support them at the rate of 6 mills. It's just, that's unconscionable that you would do that, I think. So, please support the library.
Thank you for being here tonight, and also thank you for choosing to be a resident of Iberia Parish. But I think some more information that's going to come later is going to explain the other half of the story. Hi.
Hi, my name is Panat Zanaman. I'm a resident at 1505 Hopkins Street in New Iberia. Many of you probably know me from the newspaper. Thank you, Corey. And my work with Envision the Barrie and the community. I'm just, I came just curious to hear what was going on tonight, and I just wanted to follow up on some of the comments that I heard. One by Mr. Jordan, who talked about the population change, or the lack of, actually, between 2000 and 2010. I'm paraphrasing, saying that many of the people from this parish are leaving to find better opportunities outside of the parish. I think we're well aware of that, but also another part of that population not changing is also the mass incarceration and the parish prison population growing by 25% between 2000 and 2010, and other factors like 85% in probation and 25% in parole. So when we're talking about the library issue, I think the main theme or topic or sector in our community that we need to really focus on to address these bigger problems in our population is education. And when I moved back to New Iberia, I grew up here, and I went away and I studied at Columbia University and worked in New York City for about 7 years, and I decided to move back to try to give back. I moved back in 2010, and I had no money, no resources. I had really no connections. My family had already moved out of New Iberia, but I wanted to come back and try to start a business and make a living here and give back to the community. How was I going to start doing that? I went to the library, the St. Peter branch, and I checked out a audio tape called "What Would Google Do?" And what I learned from that audio tape was that in the 21st century, the customer has control, and a lot of people do have access to the internet, and they can shape your product, whether it be a physical product or a place or a city or town. People are out there talking about the products that you offer, and wouldn't it be great if Iberia Parish had so much more to offer and put out the local leaders put out support to really say that we are offering our people and anyone who would move here the best of the best, and the best of education, which the library system is a huge part of. So I just wanted to just remind everyone in the room about about where we are now in the world and the economy, and how people are looking at us and waiting to see what our leaders are going, or how our leaders are going to move, what our leaders are going to move us towards. So, and I hope it's something that really is big in support of education and public institutions like the public library. Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you for all your volunteer work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? This is your time to speak.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Brown. Second by Mr. Davis to go back into regular session. Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 4691, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Iberia Parish compiled ordinances to provide that resolutions authorizing and approving the execution of equipment lease purchase agreements for equipment already budgeted within the current year's budget may bypass the committee process and be placed directly on the Iberia Parish Council agenda for approval.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Davis. Discussion? Roll call. That motion carries. We're gonna skip over to summary number 4693. For procedural purposes, this needs to go first. 4693, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 2015-05-4673, which authorized the levy of millages for the year of 2015, introduced by Tommy Landry. Moved by Mr. Landry, second by Mr. Ditch. Discussion. Mr. Brown?
What's the reason that this has to go first? Is there any reason?
It was recommended, I believe, by the state auditor that we have to address the rescinding it before we can approve a new one and have two millage ordinances in place. So we'd have to rescind it first, Mr. Brown. If we don't rescind it, then the other one will need to be omitted or deleted.
Okay.
Mr. Broussard?
Mr. Sheila, I have a question. Yes, sir, Mr. Broussard. If we rescind 4693, which is the villages that are on the books, and 4692 does not get a favorable vote, then we have no millages. Is that a true statement?
That is a very true statement, Mr. Broussard.
So, the question is, can the verbiage be inserted in 4693 that it is only removed with the caveat that 4692 has to have some form of resolution versus nothing? Is that doable? Because what I'm concerned with at this point, we take them off, and to Mr. Jordan, you're not paying any taxes.
That's right.
Because if we don't approve any, there's nothing. So I want to make sure we understand fully before we rescind something and not understand the consequences possibly.
Your assumptions are correct. The idea that you couldn't take up, that you had to take up the rescission first was something that someone got from the legislative auditor. That was not my opinion. This body has the right to select what you want to vote on first in the order in which you want to vote on them, because there are all kind of reasons for doing that. And you're right. This is a slippery slope because there are all kind of issues. Number one, if one passes, does it get vetoed? If it gets vetoed, what happens then?
Right.
If it doesn't pass, which one is applicable? There's another issue, and I hope Mr. Huval, I think he's going to address it, but Revised Statute 47-1705A provides that your millage ordinance is to be adopted and to the auditor and the assessor prior to June the 1st of each year. And Mr. Huval, whom I respect greatly, has indicated, has given you basically 2 letters, and I think, and I believe he'll address it, but I think what he said is, I'll take your ordinance even though it's after June the 1st. I don't think he said I'm in favor of or against whatever you're doing, but I'll take your ordinance after June the 1st. But the ordinance says it shall be to him and it shall be to the legislative auditor. And the legislature has said that. So, although I again respect Mr. Huval, can Mr. Huval say what the legislature said, I'm going to ignore? Can the legislative auditor say what the legislature has done, I'm going to ignore? And then, if you want to take it a step further and show you what a slippery slope I believe that everyone's looking at is, Mr. Huval may accept it, the legislative auditor may accept it, but what happens if one of your public bodies, who is a tax recipient, who ends up getting less taxes, says, well, you know what, I'm going to challenge that because it wasn't done before June the 1st. I don't know the answer to that, but I just want you to know that there is very good reasons why you might want to say, I'm going to vote on this, but it's only subject to something else happening in its place. And then you come along and you take the second step, which is to rescind, or the words I would use actually would be repeal, because that's what you're doing, repeal what you did previously. So,
Just, if I can get one more
Yeah,
clarification.
sure, absolutely.
Because you are answering some of the concerns I have. I've been here a long time, and we are a home rule charter parish, is that not so?
yes, sir.
And under the state constitution, that allows us to govern ourselves as long as we meet a few criteria. One of them being, we do not conflict with state law. That is a correct statement.
Yes, sir.
And when we conflict with state law, our powers on whatever we're conflicting actually do not exist, that the state law trumps us under those provisions of the Home Rule Charter.
I think a better state would be in most instances,
Okay.
it would trump you. There may be some few exceptions, and certainly if there's a constitutional provision, there's no question it would trump.
And the law from the state says we're mandated to have it in back in June.
Yes,
The state said that, not the Home Rule Charter.
correct.
And the Home Rule Charter only exists as long as we don't conflict with state law. I just want clarification.
That is a proper generalized statement.
Thank you, sir.
Troy.
Mr. Ditch?
Mr. Shealy, when you first said your statement in regards to June 1st, you said that the ordinance states that it has to be in for June 1st.
Sir, I said state law, Title 47, Section 1705A.
You mentioned something that we have an existing ordinance. What were you referring to with that?
You have an ordinance that you adopted prior to June the 1st. I believe it was May 27th.
That's existing, and that's the maximum millages. Okay, that's what you're referring to with the ordinance. Okay, that's what I just want to clarify.
You have one ordinance that you adopted that was adopted prior to the June 1st deadline.
So in regards to readjusting our millages with an ordinance past the June 1st deadline, our option would be to either abide by the state law or to change the millage rates, and if it's contested, then deal with it then, correct?
Would you repeat the question?
Our two options are
because here's what I'm concerned about.
Okay.
I don't intend to be pulled into the trap
Don't.
of trying to say, we passed this ordinance, now we want to consider another one, and you know what? We quit doing it because the DA's office told us we couldn't do it. I'm not telling you can't do it.
And that's what I'm asking, to make sure that we can still do it, and then we face the consequences, not you telling us we can't do it. That's what I want to clear up.
I
Okay.
just want to tell you there are, it is a slippery slope with potential pitfalls.
But you're not telling us we can't, because that's how it's going to be, exactly what you just said. It's going to be what the DA's office told us we couldn't. I just want to make sure you're not telling us we can't deal with this right now. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Mr. Shealy, can we rescind and adopt? Can we join them together? Would you feel more comfortable with that? Would that answer the problems?
Then we double it.
No, that was my next question. No.
I'll hold. He's still outside the Constitution.
Yes, sir.
I would be careful about the language that I used, and in fact, I was going to...
Or repeal?
I was going to suggest in your ordinance that rescinds or repeals.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I was going to suggest that you use the word rescind and appeal to make it... It's just that appeal is usually the word that you hear in legislative acts to take something
Right.
away, to annul, or to avoid it. So that was one particular wording that I was going to suggest you use. And also, I was going to suggest that you add, and thereafter becoming effective in accordance with sections 2-12 and 2-13, because what could happen is you could adopt it, but it doesn't become effective because either there's a veto or it doesn't become effective because of some other reason. And so you want to make sure that if something's going to be contingent upon the second ordinance, that second ordinance doesn't just get adopted, but it gets adopted and becomes effective.
Right. Okay. If we adopt and don't rescind, do we have two? Do we have two sets of millages that we charted?
You have two sets of millages until you address the rescission.
The repeal?
Or the
repeal.
Repeal.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Well, let me back up. And I didn't draft the ordinance. Most of them will say that you repeal and reenact. This one doesn't say that. There could have been a way that you might have worded it that might have been crafted better to accomplish that in one, but I think all Mr. Huval is really going to be interested in, I want to know clearly what the millages are. And I think, and Mr. Huval, please, if I'm saying something that's different from your opinion or your desires,
please join us, Mr. Huval. Please join us.
But I think what would make Mr. Huval, the legislative auditor, or anyone else more satisfied is I adopt this ordinance, and if that's what this council wants to do, I adopt this ordinance and I clearly repeal and reject the first one, so that Mr. Huval has no question about which ordinance he is supposed to spread upon the books of the parish. Is that?
I don't know. No. I have spoken to the legislative auditor's office, excuse me, for at least 3 conversations I've had with him. And all 3 conversations was, one, and matter of fact, Nicole Minville sent an email to Brenda Bergeron, and here's what Joanne Garrison with the legislative auditor said. The millage can be revised as long as the assessor approves it. The millage can only be dropped lower, not rolled forward. In other words, you can drop it lower if you want, but you can't roll it forward any more than what it is right now. We will need 2 separate agenda items. Resolution number 1, rescinding the millage rate adopted on whatever date y'all adopted it. The second resolution, adopting the revised millage rate. This is directly from the legislative auditor. Okay. We've been doing this since 1978. I did the research. Okay. It is up to the assessor to waive that June 1st deadline, just like it's up to the assessor to decide that June 1st is the deadline. I can go either way I want. Okay.
Do you have some legal items that support that?
Okay,
Mr.
we have.
Huval?
Hold on, let me get this here. I have 4 Attorney General's opinion. I'll read. This is from the latest one was from Mr. Ellis Duplex from Lafayette Parish when he was the assessor. You requested the opinion of this office concerning whether or not the assessor may waive the deadline for filing tax information set forth in 47-1705. Okay? The response from the Attorney General, this question was addressed in Opinion 76-616, a copy of which was attached, but we couldn't get a copy of that, which indicates that the assessor can waive the deadline. However, the assessor could use that statute as a basis to refuse to accept information after the deadline, which is what I did. That's one Attorney General's opinion.
What
And I
year
have
was
a...
that, Mr.
Do
Hughes?
what?
What year was that, do you know?
That was 1988.
So,
This
30
August
years.
1978, same thing. Attorney General's opinion was written. They go back to that 76-616 opinion, and basically the same thing was said, that the assessor has to waive. He has the right to waive it if he wants it, and so chooses to. Okay? So when I was approached, you know, for reconsideration, I said yes. I'm one that works with my parish officials. So you don't want to reconsider it, I'm giving you all the opportunity.
Mr. Brown?
Did you get an opinion on what the millages are this year? Can we raise them, or can we fluctuate with them?
Okay. The 4 millages that the taxpayers renewed in 2014, okay? Library, public buildings, health unit, and the drainage facility. The millage that was approved by the voters, like let's take the library for instance, 6 mills,
Okay.
approved by the voters. Next year, they do not lose their max. Not one of these 4 will lose their max next year because they haven't been through a revaluation year. All the other millages that y'all control here, y'all can no longer get the max. That's over with. No matter what you do tonight, you will not get the max. You can only go up to the adjusted max. Okay? But now next year with revaluation, all this goes out the window except for these 4 that just passed last year. So library will not lose their 6.0. Y'all want to bring it up to 6.0 next year? You can certainly do it. Okay? You can bring it up to whatever you want, up to 6.0 mills. That's about as simple as I can put it for y'all.
I don't know. You saying that, do you have anything to show us that, because I talked to,
Jason Akers.
I talked to Jason.
Jason Akers.
And he told me that if we didn't do it this year, that's where it would be, and we could not go above what we voted on this.
This year?
Yes.
Mr. Jason, Mr. Akers is wrong.
Well,
I'm telling you. You're asking me, I'm telling you
yeah,
what the
I
answer is.
understand, but I'm telling you what he told me.
Then that's what I'm saying. Mr. Akers is totally wrong. Is he here today?
Well, Andy, do you know anything to where we can have some concrete information on this? Because this is very important.
Oh, I agree with you.
It's very, very important. I'll ask for Attorney General opinion.
Sorry. Let's answer the easy parts.
Okay.
We agree. Almost all of what Mr. Huval said, I completely agree with. I acknowledge the Attorney General's opinion that he referred to. However, that Attorney General's opinion was really talking about, there are 2 deadlines in that statute. There's a May 1st deadline in which Mr. Huval has to get the adjusted maximum millages to you for consideration.
Right.
In that particular Attorney General's opinion, they were talking about the May 1st. One of the things they were talking about was that May 1st deadline.
Right.
The other thing that they were talking about was, and the Attorney General's office opinion is very clear, that as to Mr. Huval, if he chose, if that ordinance was adopted after June the 1st, he has the choice has a choice. If he's already got his tax roll so far along that interferes with him, he doesn't have to accept that.
Right,
He can if he wants to.
right.
But that Attorney General's opinion only addresses it from Mr. Huval's point of view,
Right.
not from any other voter, taxpayer, or anybody else that might want to challenge it. That's why the June the 1st just, again, gives me some concerns. There is no clear answer. There are no cases or Attorney General's opinions that say if it gets challenged by somebody other than Mr. Huval, what the results would be. Now, the only other question I would have for Mr. Huval is, would the 6 mills become the adjusted maximum millage, and if in 2016, at this time in 2016, would it take a majority vote because it's the adjusted maximum millage, or would it take a 2/3 vote because you're rolling forward? Which I think is what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't tell you, it's 6 mills is what the legislative author is telling me. They can go up to 6 mills. That's their max for next year, no matter what, if we go up or down.
And see what's important. What's important is, what is the adjusted maximum going into 2016? When you show up here in 2016 ready to pass your ordinance for that year, what is the adjusted maximum millage? Which is different from the maximum millage. The adjusted maximum millage is what you can vote on by a majority vote, which because of your charter is 8 persons.
Which is 5.
But if the 6% is the maximum millage, but not the adjusted maximum millage, then what you have to do is you have to adopt your mills at the adjusted maximum millage. Then you have to have a second to roll forward, and if you roll forward to get to that higher millage, it takes a 2/3 vote of the membership, not those present. So it would take 10 votes in order to do that. I'm not suggesting which is the answer. I'm simply saying that what we have to be clear is, when we say what you can roll it up to is, are we talking about the adjusted maximum millages? Or are you talking about the maximum millages?
Which is a decision that you all make every year.
Roll back.
You all make that every year,
Roll back,
especially in
except
revaluation year. Okay, this is not anything new. So this is not earth-shaking as far as I'm concerned, okay? But you'll need to know that, yeah, the adjusted max is 8 votes. You want to go to the max, well, then it takes a 2/3. But that's been like that.
But we can.
But you can.
The question
Yeah.
was from the crowd, from the public, was, can we roll it forward?
Absolutely, up to 6 mills next
So
year.
that
Next
the
year, no
information
matter
that-
what if you gotta make 1 mill this year, this year,
Right.
2015. 2016, y'all can, the library and those 4 I'm speaking of, you can go up to the max, which is whatever it is. Library, 6 mills, you can go up to 6 mills.
How long you been in office, Mr. Evo?
Well, I've been in the 32 years.
I trust that you know what you're talking about. Not that I don't believe
No.
Mr. Akers, I believe there was some
No,
wires
well,
that got
that's
crossed
wrong
along the
information,
way.
and I keep hearing this.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's not the truth.
I understand
Okay.
completely. Has this Iberia Parish ever done this before?
Yes.
Adopted
We've
millages
rescinded
beyond-
some in the past, yeah.
And
That's
have we-
not, we have to have that leverage. Give you for instance, the hurricanes, you know, we've had some problems where they couldn't get everything in on time, okay? So you got to work with these people. You got to work with the governments on there. So that's why it's open. It's open to work, you know, for y'all.
So it's not the first time, we're not breaking new
No,
ground.
absolutely not. No, we've done that many, many times. I say we, I mean assessors throughout the state, not just me personally, okay?
All right, Mr. Fitch?
Yeah, that was one of my questions I wanted to ask Mr. Duval, and thank you for coming tonight, I appreciate you
You're
coming.
welcome.
One of my questions was, have you ever waived that requirement, and apparently you have.
And I would do it every time for any government agency. If they're having a problem, I think that's what I'm here for. I think we ought to work these problems out, you know?
I'm gonna ask you a question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, and I don't want any names, but being the assessor, have you gotten any calls about the raising of the millages and people complaining to you.
You want to come see the appeals that are on my desk right now?
Have any businesses told you they were going to close? I don't want any names or anything because we raised the millages.
They're waiting to see what happens tonight. I've had quite a few.
Any businesses that have large employees?
Yes.
I
And
got
we,
you.
look, I'm working with them, and we're doing the best we can to try to keep them here. That's all I can tell you. I mean, you know, yes,
Well,
I have gotten
appreciate you working with them. Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, you have to. And I mean, look, we want business here, gang. You don't want them to leave. 'Cause let me tell you, I don't care what you increase it to. If you don't have the buildings here full and the people working, you're going to lose the homes, you're going to lose the businesses. Then what you have, you can raise it 10 mills. If you want to get less than what you got the previous year, that's not doing you any good. Okay? And I've seen it happen, you know.
Thank you.
Mr. Broussard?
The parish you spoke about, one was Lafayette, what was the other? Do you remember?
I know St. Bernard was one for the hurricane, was one that they, and look, I'm going back many years. That was 2005. I'm going to be honest. I know we did it here in Iberia Parish.
We rescinded what we had on the
I-
books?
I'm not saying it
or
was
we were
y'all.
just late?
No.
There's a big difference.
No, that we had to rescind something that was done for one, and I can't remember who it is. I didn't even go do the research on it, you know. But it was done already in Iberia Parish.
And just for clarification.
Yes, sir.
We can roll it up in 16. 17, we can roll it up also?
You can do whatever you want. You know, you're going to have a max. You can do whatever you want. Now, let's assume, let's say this. Suppose in you got 2.0 mills. Let's take the library. That's a good example. 2.0 mills. Next year, they can go up to 6 mills. Let's assume you decide to go 4 mills. You're not going to go up to 6 mills. And you just go up to 4 mills. Okay? So revaluation is 4 mills. The following year, 2017, bottom falls out over here. Well, guess what happens? They can get the same amount of money they got the previous year. So they don't lose any money.
But just for that clarification, but you can't roll to 6 at that point. You just can keep the same.
Whatever that
money.
max is at that time. I can't tell you that. I
But what
don't
I'm
know what
saying,
you're going
you
to,
can
no, you're going to lose that. If you come with that 4 mil, let's say next year, then the legislative auditor is going to calculate what the max is going to be, what the adjusted max, and where you're at.
So based on that though, the 6 goes away, whatever to keep the same money at that point.
Yeah, but at this, well.
And the reason I'm
for-
asking
for-
that.
4 mills can be, depending on what it is, 4 mills can be more money than what 6 mil is, depending on what's happening that year and the amount of assessed value you have. That's a very hard question to answer.
But to the point, if the council, next council,
Mhm.
keeps it at 2.8.
Okay.
17, that's what it's gonna be set at for the max.
Yeah,
6
you're going to
goes
lose that
away.
6.0.
So I wanna make sure everybody understands.
You understand that?
If the council next year doesn't roll it out, it doesn't have the option, or we can always go to 6.
No.
If it's 2.8 next year, again, that's it, it's locked.
Correct.
To their point. So the library, I guess, when they were making part of their discussion, if it carries through another year, then in essence, it will lock it. Now, I understand we'll keep getting the same amount of money, and we have
Correct.
to roll it, adjust it, if
Yeah.
assessed values go up and
Yeah,
down.
whatever that millage is going to be, they
Correct.
got to get the
But-
same
but
money
when
they
I'm
got
sa-
in
At
2016.
least that,
Right.
but they don't have the option to go to the 6, which the voters voted on. So we basically have told the voters, we don't care what you voted on, we're gonna do what we want. I just
Call
wanted
for
a
the call for the
clarification.
questions.
Before that, I wanna answer your question, 'cause I'm not sure which
Oh,
one.
I thought you were done.
No, which
No,
one we
wait till
voting on
Bernard's
right
done.
now?
We still, we're on the rescind.
Okay, but is it rescinding with a caveat, or just a flat out rescission?
I want to keep my motion to rescind it.
Just as
I was
is.
just the second. Tommy made the motion.
Just as is to take it off the books?
Yep.
I just need some, I think we should get a little more guidance to make sure that we have the proper language to rescind and/or repeal.
I want to make sure I understand what your intention is. Your intention is to repeal your prior ordinance, which at that point in time leaves you with no ordinance.
Yeah.
Correct.
Setting your millages.
Right.
That's my intention with
And
the
I
second.
would think the common sense approach is that those people who are voting to rescind it would be the same people voting to establish the new
New rates.
Yeah. Within about 10 seconds.
Correct.
You can take it up in any order you wish.
Well, I'm just following with the legislative auditor. That's how it got to the agenda before we got the opinion from the legislative auditor, and that's why I'm moving it as per
Mr.
their
Chairman,
recommendation.
I just want it understood very clearly. I've had 3 conversations with the legislative auditor that handles the assessors, and that was her recommendation.
Correct.
To
And
us.
that's why we moved
Everything
it.
I shared with you tonight came from them. Okay?
Correct.
So,
Do we need to amend it besides the word repeal?
I would include the word of repeal, and I would also, I would include the word repeal.
Okay.
And see this, but your ordinance as it is presented to, I want to make sure that the ordinance reads. Do you still wish for the ordinance, which is summary number 4693, to be contingent upon the adoption of a new ordinance setting the millage rates for 2015?
I think that's what you had alluded to a while ago, that it needs to go into effect upon the adoption of 4692.
That's correct. That's correct.
I think that's what the language I was looking for.
Yes, but I would add at the end of where it says setting new millage rates for 2015, and thereafter becoming effective in accordance with section 2-12 and 2-13 of the Iberia Parish Home Rule Charter.
What is that? Can you give me just a general, into the charter, what it?
That's the 2 sections of the charter that says how an ordinance that you adopt becomes effective.
Okay.
You could adopt one, but it never becomes effective because it's vetoed. It would
Okay.
be one example. And so you want to make sure that the ordinance is, that sets the new millage is both adopted and effective.
Correct. That's what I was looking for, was that other language. Mr. Ditch?
My concern with that, and if you could explain to me, Ms. Sheila, my concern with that is if we pass that contingent on passing another millage rate, that's gonna be the poison pill that causes us not to adopt any new rates, and it's gonna go revert back to the old rate, correct? If we don't agree on anything? Based on that ordinance?
If you don't agree on anything,
Then it's gonna go right back to where we are.
there's not a new ordinance. And so therefore,
That's what I'm saying, rescind it without that.
so Mr. Ditcher, what you're saying is you want to take the chance of repealing that prior one without having any new ordinance.
Absolutely, because that'll force us to adopt new millage rates. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not making an opinion for these 14. I'm saying it's worth it,
I'm not
considering the
making-
situation. I'm not asking you to make a policy.
I'm not making a political decision for you. That's your
Right,
job.
right.
I'm telling you from.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Mr. Broussard?
Clarification, I didn't vote to roll it to the max. I voted against it.
And neither did I.
So I'm not wanting to keep it at the max. We went over 3 meetings and couldn't pick an airport commissioner.
That's my point.
You really think we can make a decision and it's a guaranteed lockdown, Mr. Ditch? I won't take that challenge. Because if we don't, Mr. Huval, you have to have legislation from us that says what the millages are. You just can't create them? Is that a true statement?
if I don't get a resolution from y'all telling me what the millage is, at the tax bill goes out, the 26 or 32 mil is not gonna be on there.
I won't take that chance. That's right. So I can tell you, I have no problem with possibly rescinding with the caveat if the other part doesn't pass, we at least have some millages. But
Yeah, I agree, Mr.
And
Broussard.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna agree the way it's written, to your point, Mr. Ditch, and I'll talk to it on the next one if we want, because that's where it would be, that the library has taken a $920,000 hit, and all the other budgets are getting increases. We talk about fund balances at the library, having a $5 million fund balance. Wow, so does the health unit, has a healthy fund balance. We put more money in that one. So does building maintenance. We put more money in that one. So does drainage. We put more money in that one. So the argument we say in the library, they got too much of a reserve, but we taking $920,522.82, if I got the correct budget sheet, from one agency, only to spread it out and give it to the other agencies.
Wait.
Not at the 6%, but at the 4.43 that they were before. That's a 37% decrease. From the 6%, it's a 53.4 decrease. But every one other is rolling up. Then the hypocrisy that really upsets me is they're doing a good job. They passed the millage last year at 6%. The voters overwhelmingly agreed to a plan that the library has been working on for 30 plus years. We're gonna build libraries, Koto, we're gonna replace the one in Delta. Excuse me, Laurelville. They already did the one in Delta. Voters understood that. That's a game plan they're doing. They put all their money and they're making a nice nest egg. Well, I was here when we built 3 libraries. And the ladies that ran libraries can remember that fund balance was down to about 0 because they paid it all cash. So now we're asking to pay cash. The questions that y'all ask Mr. Como and what I want to try to answer is, it's a $5 million fund balance at the end. How much is in your air conditioning system in the main library if they have to pay for it? Okay. How much is a new roof in the main library? And I'm just picking on the main library right now, if they have to pay for it. What the library has done has stacked up money. The hypocrisy is what I'm saying is we can't meet our own bills out of the general fund, but we take money from the health unit to transfer to the jail. Now, the voters didn't vote to put money in the jail. They voted it for public health, but we managed to make the law read perfectly that we can do that. If their air conditioning goes out, they got to depend on their fund budget. That's right. That air conditioning goes out over here, we don't even tap our general fund budget. We have a building and maintenance fund we can do that with. And I can run down the list where we have backup funds that we take money out of on a regular basis. And we're telling, but you're going to live in your fund by yourself, only that fund. So yes, the fund balance is high. But if we worried about high fund balances, then let's just cut what you're saying from the library, and let's not sprinkle it around on the other fund balances that we can get our fingers in to shove those numbers up. Because those numbers are pretty high, most of them already. That's why I can't support just hitting one. When we did it with the levy, some people try to say take it all from the library. The only way I agreed, I'm talking about me as a personal, as an individual council member, was we took it out of multiple funds. Everybody shared the pain. But it seems like we back to the library is going to share the pain, and it's not that we're concerned about the public, and I agree with Mr. Jordan if he's still in here, paying more than what they need. The other fund balances are healthy. Let's cut the taxes back even more in these tough times and give the general public extra money. That's not what we're doing here, people. So I can't support it in that form. So I want to make sure that's clear. I wanted to answer your question as to, yes, they're going to have a healthy fund balance, but in reality, we're clipping them from the old millage that was there last year, $920,000 out of one. All the rest are going up, and if you want, I'll do the calculations on them. We're increasing fund balances all across the board. Healthy fund balances.
Mr. Landry?
Yeah, I think one reason we're thinking about doing that is because of our fund balance, the royalty fund, which is severely diminished. And I think that's the thought behind those processes. Anyway.
If I can reply to that,
Yeah.
the thing was directed to you, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
I wasn't directed.
No,
I'm
but,
just making a
but in a
statement.
way to the statement. The royalty fund is not really dumping money into the building maintenance fund. That fund's taking care of it already. We're using that fund for a lot of other things. So don't distort the fact
I'm not distorting
that
the
we're
fact.
moving royalty funds because of the drop in the health unit tax. No, we're taking that one to cover others. We're not using it on health services for the general public. We're shoving that to the jail. So if we're gonna talk about informing the public, let's inform them that they understand what's going on up here. The public agreed last year. I must have been mistaken, but it was last year they said, we're all right with a 6 mil.
That's right.
And now we're telling them, to Mr. Huval's statement, we're gonna roll it down to 2.8. If the council next year does not touch it, that'll be basically almost the new adjusted.
That's right.
So we're telling the public, you agreed on 6, but we're telling you no.
The air conditioning and the roof, if that goes out, is that the library not a public building? Could we not pay for that repairs out of the public building maintenance fund?
We could.
Okay.
Wait,
that's- I just
you
asked
gotta
a
get the
question.
whole answer. That's an attorney,
Well,
you know.
you're talking about people distorting information, so that's the rest of the story, right? So if a public building gets in trouble, we've moved money to the general fund and public buildings that can be taken right out of those funds and go back to the library. So that's the whole story as well. We don't want to distort, Mr. Broussard, like you said.
But to answer your point, Troy, we can. This council that I've sat here all these years never have.
That's a different story, Mr. Broussard.
But to be fair, the council has always said, even with recreation, even with all the other ones, you got a fund for that. That fund is really for the general government, the courthouse and the buildings that we oversee.
Right,
So it can be done.
correct,
Takes 8 votes.
correct.
I've never seen it.
Well, it's, probably because it's never been needed.
No,
That-
no, I can promise you.
Mr. Ditch?
Bathrooms and
Yeah, real
recreation
quick,
for
just
years.
to Mr. Broussard's point, I agree with him in the fact that all of these cuts shouldn't be coming from the library. We had a proposal 2 meetings ago in regards to this where everybody shared with some reduction in the millages. I think one fund might have gone up to whatever, to come to essentially the same thing that was collected last year. We were done with the assumption and being told that we couldn't raise them up at all because it was an assessment year. Whatever we adopted this year had to be carried on. That was the assumptions we were done whenever we were having those discussions. So my point to doing the rescission in summary number 4693 without any fallback plan is going to force us to adopt something through a negotiation tonight with these numbers. If not, what we're going to do is it's going to be used as the partisan pill because nobody wants to vote on this issue of reduction on the library taxes. And this thing is going to be passed at the maximum adjusted rates because that's going to be the easy thing to do. That's my only reason for wanting to rescind it with nothing on the back end so we can negotiate this all tonight. Everybody leave here with a compromise and we adopt the rates. Everybody knows we're not going to not adopt millage rates. It's not going to happen. So let's just get it over tonight by doing this to where we can't leave until we get the millage rates done. And I agree with you. I don't think the library should bear the brunt of it all. I've said all along, funds like the public health and all that, and that needs to be looked at to be rolled back too. So I want to keep my second as it stands.
Well, that's not the motion, Mr. Ditch. I don't know how you can second them.
Yeah, that was the motion. The motion was to, that was the motion.
You just rescinded the other one, that's the only motion.
Repeal?
We never voted on that yet.
Mr. Landry's,
No, I didn't make
No, he didn't make a substitute. It was the initial motion.
The motion is what he said,
that's
right
what I
here
was-
until you get a substitute.
I'm sorry, you're right, you're right.
So we need a substitute to add repeal.
Do you want to add that, or do you want to make the substitute motion?
Substitute to repeal and rescind.
And to go into effect as Mr. Shealy advised, or not? Okay, so we do have a motion, a substitute motion, to include the language that Mr. Shealy acknowledged that needs to be more appropriately read, to rescind and repeal, and to go in effect as per charter number.
2-12 and 2-13.
And I'm second.
And we have a second by Mr. Gonsalves. And I think, Mr. Ditch, we are ready to vote.
On the second one.
No, I'm just saying, I think we're ready to vote on the
Yeah, I'll pull
on the
my- I'll pull
millages.
that.
On the
Yeah.
millages tonight, I think we're ready to vote on that
Let's
tonight.
see.
So I would disagree with you.
Let's see.
The repeal and the what?
Okay.
Mr. Brown?
Repeat what we voted on.
We are still on number 4693, an ordinance rescinding and repealing ordinance number 2015-05-4673, which authorized the levy of millages for the year of 2015, and to How's it read? I got that part.
And since you addressed me, Mr. Como,
to go in, hang on,
you
hang
are,
on.
I agree, you're ready to vote tonight. I didn't.
And to go, and to go into effect,
And thereafter becoming effective in accordance with sections 2-12 and 2-13 of the Iberia Parish Home Rule Charter.
thank you. Okay, so we have a substitute motion. Any questions on the substitute motion?
We're not
Clear to
voting on the
vote.
millages right now.
No, we're working on rescinding, which is what the legislative auditor recommended, that we rescind first. But we are protecting that it goes into effect.
Yes, and before you vote, in accordance with some of the information that the legislative auditor says, I want to make it perfectly clear that the minutes tell us clearly what's being done, and that is that if you vote yes for summary number 4693, you are rescinding your prior ordinance contingent upon the passage of a new ordinance. I want the minutes to be very clear so that there's no question from the legislative auditor what's being done, and the public has no question.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 4692, introduced by Thomas J. Landry, District 3. An ordinance authorizing the levy of millages for the year 2015 as follows. A, general parish millage, formerly known as the general alimony millage, in the rural areas of the parish only, at a rate of 4.12 mills. B, exempted municipalities millage, formerly known as the criminal tax millage, in the incorporated areas of the parish only, at a rate of 1.71 mills. C, courthouse and jail millage, in the incorporated areas of the parish only, at a rate of 0.80 mills. D, parish library millage for parish-wide property at a rate of 2.80 mills. E, public buildings maintenance millage for parish-wide property at a rate of 4.7 mills. F, health unit millage for parish-wide property at a rate of 1.89 mills. Drainage facilities millage. G, for parish-wide property at a rate of 3.25 mills. H, fire protection district number 1 millage for the rural areas only at a rate of 6.6 mills. And I, parish library millage for parish-wide property to be used to pay outstanding debt for the parish library system at a rate of 0.25 mills. We will be taking a voice vote on this item.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Landry.
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitch. Discussion?
Substitution.
Mr. Broussard?
You're correct, Mr. Ditch.
I was telling Mr. Brown
I'm
that.
not taking it all from the library. The library does have one of the funds that has been recommended. We're gonna go from 0.45 to 0.25. So that's 0.20 of a mil that we are all in agreement, even with our bonding attorney. The library board knows that based on the bond redemption. I ask that we take the millage amounts that we had previously, which add up to 26.12, and redistribute 0.10 to the fire protection district, which brings it from 6.5 to 6.60, and the health unit, bringing us from 1.45 to 1.55. And I'm sorry, I didn't run all the numbers.
Are you bringing up the health unit?
I'm bringing up the health unit with 1.0 from the roll down in the library, which we're saying, and the fire protection. Because those two directly deal with public safety. I'm not saying the other ones don't. But to say we need to bump up all these other funds, I know we do. But listen, everybody else that's going through economic hard times is dealing with it.
So you're actually bringing it down from the.
I'm bringing it back to where it was, 6.12.
Yeah, so you're bringing it down from the resolution.
I'm just not agreeing with the proposed solution that's there.
Yeah.
All the others would go back to, the courthouse and jail would be .76, the general parish would be 3.43, exempt municipality is 1.71, drainage would 3.01, the fire protection would now be 6.60, the health unit would be 1.55, the library would stay at 4.43, the second library fund would roll down to .25, and the public building maintenance would stay at 3.8. That's all they collect, which should give you a grand total of where we were 26.12 before, which, to answer Mr. Jordan and others, means you'd have a basically neutral tax load. You'd pay the same thing you did last year, in theory, unless you have properties that really elevated higher.
Can you give that to Bobette to get her to put on the screen?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
It's handwritten.
I mean, if she can type it in real quick, just so we can see what we're looking at.
You take 14 and just change fire
Well, we don't have
protection.
that.
It was the same thing.
It's the thing that she has. 14
No, I'm saying we
change.
don't have that, which you have in front of you.
This is, when I,
What do you?
this is the proposed change.
What's the proposal for the library?
Wasn't that the same?
The health, hold on.
Start from the,
According to what I'm seeing, the health unit in 14 was at 1.45, right? I'm saying bring it up to 1.55. The fire department is at 6.5, and it leaves it at 6.60.
okay.
And then the second library will roll to 0.25, so it should bring it up to 26.12.
What do you propose for the,
All the rest stay the same as in 14.
Wasn't it?
as in 14? So the library would be 4.43?
Correct. And the second library would be at, instead of 0.45, 0.25.
Public buildings would be 4.38?
Everything would remain the same. 7, 6, 4, 3, 8, 1. What is?
Public buildings is gonna be what, 4.38?
Okay. See if that, I have those were correct.
It should stay the same, right?
Yes.
You adjust in 3 budgets. The library comes down 0.20, and the fire department goes up 1.0, and the public health goes up 1.0, and it should be a wash. Is that correct?
This
I
totals.
can't read that one, and
Oh.
this one I really can't see either.
Everything stays the same with,
That was-
health
that's
unit
the
goes
one.
up to
That was the
1.55,
first thing we did.
and the fire goes to 6.60, and the library bond goes down to 0.25.
And
That's the
the
one
tax
we had
load would
last year.
remain the
Yeah,
same as
that's-
the general public.
That's good.
That's my substitute motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Broussard, a second by Mr. Brown. As you see it, to stay at 26.12 as
So this will
proposed,
be
Mr.
revenue
Landry.
neutral.
No, this would be millage neutral.
Millage.
Are we still,
that off
are
earlier?
We
we
still-
still voting by voice?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we will be.
Well, that don't count.
I just want to, any comments or questions?
Just,
Mr. Gonsolin?
Bobette, you pull up the trend lines on public building and maintenance, if you don't mind.
Take it out the royalty. We need some. That's where we've been.
Okay, so, in essence, Mr. Broussard, you stay in millage neutral with public building and maintenance. If you study the trend lines, the expenses are going up, revenue's down. Explain to me, how are we gonna take, we're mandated to take care of public buildings, how are we gonna address this issue? You plan on cutting expenses, or what do you, or plan, sucking it out of general fund?
You can take it out of general
No,
fund.
you plan on taking it out of general fund?
There's a
Put up
possibility.
general fund now.
I understand the fund.
I'm just telling you, all these funds, the expenses are going through the roof, and revenue's flat.
I understand that, Mr.
We trying to
Gonsolin.
get-
I was here when we laid public employees off.
We're trying to avoid that.
Under the Romero administration. I was here. Mr. Romero was here. We laid off employees. So I understand the concept. You have to live within it.
All right, Mr.
But
Gonsolin?
there are, as you're pointing, the revenues coming down, there's healthy fund balances. So when you were telling the library, it's okay, your revenues can come down, you got a good, healthy fund balance. That's not shown in the curve. Yeah, we'll be depleting fund balances. I'm only doing the same thing that y'all recommended the library do.
All right,
Okay,
Mr.
all right.
Gonsolin?
That's all.
So, my bad, put the criminal court fund up, please.
With $800,000.
I'll fix, don't steal my thunder.
But I'm well aware.
Don't steal my thunder. You were in a meeting last week when Mr. Bo Dewey said that we're gonna be mandated to come up with $850,000 to support the criminal justice fund.
Clarification for 3 parishes.
Our share's 800.
No.
No, 800 total, 500. Right, you're right, that's not correct.
And it's actually a little over 4.
Okay, so we gotta find $500,000. We gotta find $500,000 because Mr. Dewey has been taking out his fund balance for the last 7, 8 years to subsidize it. But now his fund balance is down to a mediocre, or gonna be down to mediocre level, so we gotta find $500,000. Without going, without adjusting these millages, where are we gonna find $500,000?
It's in there, Mr. I know
Show me.
I know you're the finance chairman. I was that for many years. I'm well aware of it.
Nobody starts that.
You spent days preparing this. You're asking me to come up with a calculator and a cell phone and try to give you answers in 5 minutes.
No.
There's
No.
money there.
Oh,
Mr. Scraps, you can maybe answer this, you should. Has the parish ever exceeded expenditures over revenue to where we were broke in a deficit spending to where we didn't have money over the last 20-plus years?
I've only been director of finance since December.
My point is,
You've taken notes from Mr. Shealy, I see.
we funded roads, Mr. Gonsolin. When you say find money, I put together 5 road programs since I've
Stay on,
been here.
can we just stay on top of
I'm
that?
answering.
But it's a long route, Mr. Broussard. Can we just stay?
You asked me where the money's at. I can't just drop you
No,
down
I
without
understand.
having all the preparation.
I understand. We came prepared with the information that we knew we were gonna be discussing, Mr. Broussard.
I was, and you should have gave me that question ahead.
I call
so
for the
could
questions
prepare.
again, Mr. Chairman.
We have a call for the question.
Second.
We have a call for the question and a second.
Okay, what are we voting on?
To stop discussion and vote.
We voting on the second.
On the question, we're voting on the question right now. If you vote yes, we stop discussion and vote on this, on the substitute motion.
All right.
Roll call. That motion carries. All right, now we're back to the substitute motion to rescind and repeal and to go in effect as per the charter. In a lot more detail than that, but that's the summary.
4692.
I'm sorry. See that? I'm still stuck on the rescission.
We're on 4692.
Wow. Y'all don't want to vote on that again? No, I'm just kidding. I apologize. I'm stuck in, it's a lot of information, y'all. It's a lot of information. We've been discussing this for quite some time. I apologize. We are, Mr. Broussard's, substitute motion. And for the record, I was supporting that.
It's a voice vote, huh?
Voice vote.
Before you vote, I'd like to make one other comment. If Mr. Straps would please put back up there the millages that you will be voting on, because I want to make it clear, again.
Now we have it for the record.
If this is what passes, I want to, for the record, make it very clear for the legislative auditor to understand that what's being voted on is the general parish would become 3.43. The exempted municipalities would become 1.71. The courthouse and jail, 0.76. The library, 4.43. Public buildings and maintenance, 4.38. Health unit, 1.55. Drainage facilities, 3.01. Fire protection, 6.60. And library, 0.25, totaling 26.12 mills, which would become the millages levied for 2016.
Good.
Do we vote both the machine and the voice? Okay, the clerk's telling me yes.
Go down the line.
So we're gonna go ahead and vote your machines on the substitute motion. Voice vote. Roll call.
For,
On the substitute motion.
on the substitute?
Yes.
Jay Davis.
Yes.
David Ditch.
No.
Lloyd Brown.
Yes.
Tommy Landry. Bernard Broussard.
Yes.
Troy Como.
No.
Ricky Gosselin.
No.
Glenn
Yes.
Romero. Roger Duncan.
Yes.
Jerome Fitch.
Yes.
Ackland Arnold.
Yes.
Marty Trumhall.
Yes.
Wayne Romero.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Mr. Fitch, yeah, the library will probably have about $7 million now in fund balance, so we can all be proud of that. Mr. Fitch?
First of all, I prefer the other motion, the original motion, but I voted because I was scared it wouldn't pass. But I also want to make a comment and thank Mr. Huval and Mr. Shealy for the excellent advice they gave us. Without them, this couldn't have taken place. I really appreciate your help. You clarified a lot for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Summary number 4694, introduced by Roger Duncan, District 10, an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of Michael D. Lepresto Road, District 10, all as requested by the Port of Iberia and approved by the Iberia Parish Regional Planning Commission.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Duncan, second by Mr. Trahorn. Discussion? I don't see Mr.
Mr. Como.
No,
Mr. Como.
yes.
Mike can answer some of the questions since I don't think Mr. Romero's here any longer. Michael Lepresto Road is within the port. It's actually, I believe it's where Chard is located. And this road has never actually been used or hasn't been used for a number of years. In fact, I think Chard, if it is the proper company, it actually has a portable building of some sort actually in the right-of-way of that road. and I have no problem or issue with abandoning the road. It does not appear that it's necessary for public purposes. And I had asked when it was initially done to add that it's no longer needed for public purposes and is abandoned and revoked. The only other thing that I would point out is I would suggest that you consider adding a section 3, which is immediately above the current section 3, that would say the Iberia Parish government hereby reserves unto itself, its heirs and assigns, any and all servitudes and rights of way of drainage and or utilities on, under, or along Michael D. Lepresto Road. What I'm trying to make sure is if there are any utilities running under that road, that we continue to maintain the ability to deal with those utilities even though we've abandoned the road.
Okay.
He basically answered what I was saying,
Okay.
to have the utilities as well as the drainage easement stand that we turn over the property.
You okay with that, Mr. Duncan? Is that okay with the second? Roll call. That motion carries. Resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 164, introduced by David Ditch, District 7, a resolution appointing one member to the Iberia Parish Airport Authority for a 5-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of term for Mr. Bill Miller, whose term expires on August 24th, 2015. Applications on interest on file. Application of interest on file from A. Gerald Falk, B. Carl Vincent, C. Thomas LeBlanc Jr., D. Patrick Norris, and E. Jarrett Landry. Mr. Carl Vincent earlier stated that he was removing his name for consideration.
That's it?
Yeah, get all of that.
They can't tell you raised taxes now. What was the numbers we had first night? They were close.
District 1, Norris. District 2, Patrick Norris. District 3, Norris. District 4, Norris. District 5, Norris. District 6, Norris. District 7, Norris. District 8, Norris. District 9, Norris. District 10, Norris. District 11, Norris. District 12, Norris. District 13, Norris. District 14, Norris. I think so. Congratulations, Mr. Norris. Thank you for you volunteering your service.
And your patience.
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman, if I may.
Absolutely, Mr. Norris.
I think he's some kind of cousin, too.
Oh, well.
Well, if you know something I don't, you need to tell me. But I think one thing Carl and I do have in common is, I think he made the statement last meeting here. He and I did actually grow up on the same street together. We were about 3 blocks apart. My daddy was a auto mechanic. His daddy was a body shop mechanic, and they did business together. You know, through the years, we grow up, go our different ways. He starts his business, I start mine. I think one of the things we still have in common is we both still in Iberia Parish. I think if you listen to some of the people tonight, you hear a lot of people leaving the area and going on to bigger and better things. And in Mr. Carl Vincent's defense, with all the things he's done over the years and the amount of time he spent at the Acadiana Fairgrounds, whether you believe in the project or not, you can't take away from the time and energy that he and the commission members have done over there. And I think that says a lot for what he believes in. But in complimenting myself, I also believe in the same thing. And I think one of the best things Iberia Parish has right now, and the best assets we have going forward, is the airport. And listen to Mr. Chris Jordan and other members from the library and other people speaking tonight. There was so much said, and there's so much truth to what's going on right now. You know, as you'll know, my business is at the airport. I am into the oil and gas, and I am fortunate to be diversified in other industries. But we are affected by what's going on right now. Listening to the discussion and the difference of opinions on the millages in which y'all just voted on, and I commend y'all for rolling them back and assisting the taxpayers and the property owners and everybody that would be affected by the millages right now, is going to help. The businesses at the airport, probably 90% is oil and gas related. You go up and down the highway, 90% is oil and gas related. Craig Ramirez represents the businesses at the port, probably 100% oil and gas related. Everybody's being affected right now. They're to the point of saying we're looking at what we had in the 80s. And if you ask me for my crystal ball opinion today, and I monitor the situation the best I can each and every day. Now, hopefully next week I could tell you different. Today I'm going to tell you we have not seen the bottom yet, and the worst is yet to come. And there's going to be more layoffs, and there's going to be more businesses closing, and there's going to be more homes for sale, and there's going to be more people leaving not only Iberia Parish, but our whole surrounding area to go to other parts of the country to provide for their family. The airport right now, in the last few years, I have to compliment Jason, the director, the past and present commission that's been working right now, and they really have been working on the airport and building it up what it needs to be to take it to the next level. They have spent a lot of money on you know, through their budget, through y'all budgets, through the TIF money, working on the tower, upgrading the radio communications, building access, additional T-hangars that they've been able to rent, repaving and doing stripping and repaving on the taxiways. They're fixing to, they have approved and they're fixing to start on $1 million+ project to do repairs to the main runway. They've changed out the lighting system on the runway itself. Not only did they change them out because they needed to be changed out, you know, they were in the process of changing them out when major airline companies came here and said, if you want us to land here, we want a certain type of lighting. Not that they had to do it, but they stopped and they did what the major airlines were asking for.
to be able to bring in large airplanes, large aircraft that's going to be able to go to AVEX and to the other aviation companies here to do business here. They have built the foundation of one of the probably the best assets we have right now in the parish. Now we have to go sell it. And there's unlimited of opportunities out there to take this airport to the next level. I get so frustrated and aggravated when I hear everything about Lafayette Airport, Lafayette in general, Youngsville, Broussard. It's time to be Iberia Parish's turn, and we at that point. And without a doubt, I know that Jason and the commission is going to be back in front of y'all at whatever point in the future for whatever it takes. And I just hope as myself or whatever, you know, thank y'all for the support. Thank y'all for the ones that have voted for me in the past right here. I have an opportunity to not only represent the business areas at the airport that are commingled within the airport itself, that has an effect on it, whether you believe it or not, it does. From people that come here and want to survey the area, they look at everything in the area, not just the airport. So it does have an effect on what happens at the airport. And there's a lot more improvements we need to do over there to improve the whole area. And I hope I can bring some value to the table and my business experience right here and being part of the commission now and a business owner over there, you know, I can speak from both sides of the fence. And not only with the things that we have going on over there, but definitely not take anything away from Lemaire Airport and Generate. They've been more than holding their share up. They've got good things going on over there, and hopefully we can even do more for that area, because there's no doubt Generate definitely needs it. And anyway, once again, thank y'all for the support, and if I could ever do anything for anybody or answer anything, please call on me. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Summary number 234, introduced by David Ditch, District 7, a resolution authorizing the parish president to make a recommendation for a contract with a consultant to handle all aspects of the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund on behalf of Iberia Parish, and further to fund said contract cost from the 3% administrative cost allotted for said purpose.
Move the table.
We have a motion to table, second by Mr. Gosselin.
No, or no.
Roll call. No discussion on the table. That motion carries. That item is tabled. Summary number 241, introduced by Bernard Broussard, District 6, a resolution authorizing the renewal of the financial audit contract with Colder, Champagne, Slavin and Company, certified public accountants, for an additional 3-year term, which would include audits for 2015, 2016, and 2017. Moved by Mr. Broussard. Second by Mr. Duncan. Discussion. We clear on contracts and?
Yes, my recommendation only was that you just do it 1 year and then do 2 years after that. I think the auditing firm said that they would do it. And this has nothing to do with the auditing firm. You know, for 25 years, I've been working with auditing firms that audit parish government. It's a difficult task. It's a specialized task. They've done a great job. And I have every reason to believe that the council, this council and one after, will continue to select them to do that. But it would just fix it to where you're basically voting on audits during your terms of office.
Right.
Just a suggestion. I think Mr. Strapps talked to him also to confirm that they would hold the same price.
They would hold the same price, but the legislative auditor frowns upon engagements where you have a 1-year term with options to renew. So if the council wishes to do as Mr. Shealy advises, I would recommend that we renew the audit for 1 year and then next year revisit it.
But don't we have a maximum that we can only do a 3-year contract?
Yeah, the charter says you can do 3-year contracts. You can do a 3-year contract.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. All I was just trying to do is this would be a good time, if that's what you wanted to do, to place it to where each council is voting on audits during the 4 years they're in office, and you're not tying a future council.
Right, so we'd have to change the charter so to make it in,
No, no, I think the charter says you can approve contracts up
Yeah,
to 3
up-
years.
right.
Up to 3 years.
It doesn't say
Right.
they have to be.
okay, so because if we do 3 years, we'll never get on track with it, or every 12 years, we'll get on track.
No, that's
Right.
correct, which is why.
Right.
This might be a good time to do it. That's your.
Okay. So, the recommendation from the administration?
The administration is okay, either direction that y'all choose to go with. We can renew for 1 year, for 2015, and then revisit it, but that contract, the engagement cannot have the options to renew in that, so it would be an engagement for 1 year. Then we would revisit it and make a recommendation again next year.
All right.
Or we can renew for the 3-year term.
All right, the motion remains as a 3-year contract for now, and we'll have to address it at a later date if we want to change it. Is that okay with the second?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call. That mo-
Brown, your vote?
That motion carries. Summary number 243, introduced by Aquiline Reno Arnold, District 12, a resolution authorizing the administration to proceed with the cleaning of Channel L1C2 located along the side of Kent and Wilson Streets located in District 12.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Arnold, second by Mr. Fitch. Discussion? Roll call.
Still want to add some questions.
I'm sorry. Rescind?
They just don't receive the vote.
I didn't say anything about them, if it carried or not.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear, because I think there was previously perhaps a cooperative endeavor agreement done between the parish and the city regarding this project, which was a different scope than what it is now. I think initially it was a much larger project, been reduced now down. I think you appropriated $80,000. The resolution indicates that you have the right-of-ways. I've not looked at those right-of-ways. I don't know if they're construction right-of-ways or simply right-of-ways for drainage, because I understand from Mr. Broussard, Mr. Herman Broussard, that in order to do this work, his crew is actually going to have to go on private property, that it cannot necessarily be done from the road. So those servitudes are going to have to grant a passage onto their private property to do the work, and a servitude of drain from this day forward. And I want to also make sure, because ultimately I may have to draft a cooperative endeavor agreement, that this is just to clean the ditches, not to install culverts or anything else. And I wasn't sure from Mr. Broussard whether or not, I've seen some pictures, some pretty good sized trees. I mean, this is really grown up pretty good. I'm not sure whether or not we have the equipment to clean out those trees. I just want some direction so that and I also want to make it clear for the minute purposes that we're not now breaking this project down in parts, because if someone were to argue that this was a much larger contract, now we're breaking it down in parts. You had to bid the much larger contract, now you're doing it in parts to avoid the public bid law. That's not what we're doing. We've changed the scope of the project because it was out of the money.
Right.
Correct. And I did have, the signatures that I have from those residents, I was told it had to be presented to the city of Jeanerette first, and it's in their hands.
I just want to, if I need to come behind with a cooperative endeavor agreement, I just want to make sure I know all of the specifics of that project.
Does the administration have a recommendation?
It has to go from Jeanerette first, then come.
Y'all have cleared up most of my, when we get the right of ways, we'll know whether we have the right to get on the private property to do that. It may mean we have to go back and do it. It ought to be a cooperative endeavor agreement between, the parish and the city.
You wanted to read and contingent upon approval
Yes,
of the DA's
yes,
office?
I can add that to there.
Is that okay with the second? Mr. Fitch?
Yes.
Any other questions? Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 261, introduced by Aquiline Reno Arnold, District 12, a resolution amending the resolution number 2015-235, which authorized a partnership with Francis M. Boley STEM Ag Academy in order to apply for a $100,000 educational health care grant with the Centene Foundation for Quality Healthcare in order to authorize a partnership with Iberia Development Foundation for said grant. It reads Iberia Industrial, but it's been changed or modified to read with Iberia Development Foundation for said grant.
Move.
Moved by Ms. Arnold, second by Mr. Fitch. Discussion? Mr. Shealy?
This is a typographical issue, but I want to make sure, now therefore be it resolved that the Iberia Parish Council is hereby authorize Parish President to enter it. The word authorize was omitted. Just want to make sure on the actual adopted resolution that we have you see what I'm talking about, Mr. Como? Right after the second whereas where it says now therefore be it resolved?
No, sir, I don't have that in front of me. I just have the agenda item. I don't have the full resolution. You have that? Okay. The clerk has it. Thank you for pointing that out. Any questions? Comments? Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 262, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution of condolences to the family of Mrs. Doris Duhon Edler, mother of planning, permitting, and zoning employee Julie Armentar, who passed away on August 19, 2015. Moved by Mr. Duncan. Unanimous. Call for unanimous second. Roll call. That motion carries. Our thoughts to Ms. Armentar and her family. Summary number 263, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the applications of Community First Bank for Restoration Tax Abatement Program.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Broussard, second by Mr. Trahan. Discussion? Roll call.
Anything to say, Benny?
Mr. Maynard, President of Community First Bank, is here.
He's got some more.
Okay.
Oh,
You want to save your speech for later, Mr. Maynard? Okay. Summary number 264, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of Dynamic Industries, Inc. for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone Program. Moved by Ms. Arnold, second by Mr. Gonsalas. Discussion? Roll call. Oh, Mr. Shealy? I'm sorry, I got a quick gun tonight. Quick draw.
And I understand. I just want to make sure that the council understands, and I'm not suggesting, the council understands there's two ways to adopt that particular resolution. You can adopt that resolution that recognizes their inclusion in the enterprise zone and rebates the state sales tax. Or you may adopt it as it's written, that you rebate both the state sales tax and the local sales tax. I just want it clear what you're doing, and I would commend them, because if you look, they have an attachment that clearly sets forth the amount of machinery and equipment and other things that are being built. They have defined the project for you. You're going to get into some later on that have no definition of what the project is that I'm going to comment on, but I just want to make sure that it was clear. This is rebating both the state sales taxes and the local sales taxes on the purchase of this equipment.
And this reads to include the entire local tax?
Yeah. Not the school.
Mr. Tarantino? Good. State your name for the record, please.
Mike Tarantino, Iberia Industrial Development. Just want to make it clear, it's my understanding that on the parish side, Iberia Parish has participated in that for years, and it's one of the key incentives in this area. But I will say it's my understanding that it's only the undedicated portion of the parish sales tax, which I think equates to about 1%.
What do you mean by undedicated portion?
I'll have to get some clarification on that for you, but it's not the other, from what I understand, it's not the other, that the school boards,
No, you're correct.
the things,
The sales
all the
taxes-
other taxing authorities.
The
So-
the local sales taxes to parish government.
That's right.
Iberia Parish government, not the school board.
That's right.
I just want to make sure.
No doubt.
And many times it's a favorable deal. This is
Yes, sir.
somebody buying $3 million worth of equipment. I just wanted to clear what's being done. I don't want somebody to say, oh, I didn't realize that.
Right, and I didn't want y'all to think it was, the whole thing.
Clarification, I think that's a half cents for solid waste, quarter for parks and recreation, and quarter for the TIF. I would ask that we keep the quarter for the TIF because that has helped build a new channel and other things that it's allowing these businesses at the port to have the feed and seed money to give them back to do things, so.
Sure.
I would ask that we leave the TIF tax in place and we can rescind I'm speaking on myself.
No, that's true.
That we rescind the parks and recreation and solid waste because they're not gonna produce a lot of solid waste and stuff. But, the money that's being generated, because they are a port industry, is putting money back into.
Yes.
Just have a quick
Mr.
question,
Fitch?
Mr. Ferrantino. Mike, can you tell me how long this tax incentive goes on, that, tax break goes on for, the length of it?
Well, there are a number of different ones. I just want to make sure I'm addressing the right one. If we're talking about the enterprise zone,
Yes.
a company enters into a contract with the state, and that contract can go for as long as 2 years. It's a rebate, okay?
Don't they have to meet certain requirements?
You have to,
Employ
okay,
so many
so.
people?
Sure. The short explanation is this is about job creation, okay? So all of these incentives that you're going to hear tonight, the whole list of them, are companies that are either coming to locate here or expanding here and hiring more people. That's a key point. These, you're basically saying, State of Louisiana, Parish of Iberia, I'd like to hire some more of your citizens, but I need to buy more equipment, or I need to buy more materials to expand my facility or something like that. The state says, okay, if you hire our citizens, we'll rebate back to you all of the Louisiana state sales tax on the materials you buy to expand your facility and on the equipment that you buy to put these folks to work. They'll also give a certain amount of money back per new employee hired, up to $2,500 per employee for manufacturers. So it's an incentive that really gets, existing businesses, especially a little bit of incentive to do that. So what happens is there's an application you file with the state. You enter into a contract for up to 2 years, and the way I say up to 2 years is if you say I'm going to create 50 jobs, and you get to that 50 job mark in 1 year, you can notify the state that you've hit your max and you'd like to stop the contract. You'd like to finish the contract, and they can end it early. At that point, the state's going to evaluate what you've done, what you've actually done, and rebate you accordingly. So if you say you're going to hire 50 and you only hire 25, or if you say you're going to spend $5 million on equipment and you only spend $1 million, the $1 million is what you're actually going to get rebated for. It's based upon what you actually did.
It's based upon a project.
That's right.
And there's a defined project that they've applied for, and so that rebate will be only for those materials and supplies for that particular project, not some ongoing forgiveness of taxes for a
Right.
specific.
So it
period of time. I
lasts a
just wanna make
maximum
sure
of
that-
2 years
Yeah.
for that project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Rope.
Wait, is that part with the,
TIF
the
stand?
TIF state?
I didn't
state-
make the motion. Did I? I didn't make the motion.
No, Ms.
I
Owens.
make the motion, and that's fine.
Is that okay with the second?
To take the 25 TIF tax out, .25.
The TIF tax will still be collected, is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because they're a port industry. If I'm not mistaken, they're on port property, it's a lease. And we just funded things for the port. I'm asking that they put the money in the pot to help us
Yeah,
fund
not
it.
collect.
No, to
No,
collect
to
the
not
TIF,
rebate.
not
To
to collect
right.
solid waste
All right, got
in
you.
parks and recreation would be the 3/4 of a cent.
For everyone in the tip.
And then we're waiving the
No,
state
but
tax.
if it's in the tip.
I mean, if someone's gonna go out and spend that kind of money, you wanna give them incentive to come out. It's only like a
Just
2-year
the-
break.
I understand that, but the school board gives them absolutely zero and they still come. School board
No,
never gives up that tax.
It's just the tip.
All right, second stands.
The second stands as amended.
Are you gonna go back and review? Oh, the other one's not in the TIF district, the other, okay.
Because I'm gonna have to help make sure this resolution is properly worded. What you wanna do is to paragraph 3, to rebate all except the
Tax incentive.
0.25% tax incremental financing,
If the business is located within the TIF. They have some different branches, but make it clear, if it's in the TIF, I like to see the TIF tax. And partly, to answer your point, Jerome, if it's where I think it is, it's a 100+ acre tract that the court owns. And they're the ones asking for the money. It helps us have money to
Give them back, to give back. Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 265, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of NRF Bioenergy LLC for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone 20056, Louisiana 182. Moved by Ms. Daniels, second by Mr. Ditch. Discussion, Mr. Shealy.
Maybe Mr. Tarantino could help me. What I was concerned about on this one is if you look at the backup documentation, there's no description of the project. There may very well be a description at the Department of Economic Development, but there's no description here as to what the project is. I'm sure you can answer that.
Sure. Sure, happy to. Right, the way the process works is the businesses and their CPAs file an application and an advance notification with the Louisiana Economic Development at the state level. The state has all of that, receives all of that information. The businesses pay a fee to the state to process that application. That information then comes back to us, to the council. So whatever we receive from the state goes to the council. So they do have that information. They wouldn't accept the advance notification otherwise. They may not have included it in information they sent to you, but that information is definitely, because it's tracked by the state.
Mike, you and I have worked together.
Of
You
course.
know I want to see economic
Of course,
development
of course.
here. But from the council's perspective, what is, with no backup,
Sure.
we don't know exactly what that project is.
Sure.
Nor do we know where it is.
Sure.
Like the exception for the TIF
That's understandable.
district or
No, that's
anything else.
understandable.
So would it injure the project if it were tabled until there was a description of what the project was, so they knew what they, in other words, they need to know,
Sure.
this business is coming here.
Sure.
It's bringing 10 new employees, 100 new
Right.
employees. It's
Right.
going to spend $5 million, so that they can calculate the economic impact.
Totally.
Which I believe is going to be a big economic impact.
Absolutely. I was unaware, first of all, I was unaware that information had been included. So I think it's certainly within the council's purview to table that until the next thing, just to get the documentation that it needs, and we can move forward if that's what the wishes of the council.
I would ask for a motion to defer to the next meeting.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, who made the motion?
Moved by Ms. Daniels to defer until the next meeting. We'll get that information.
Certainly,
Seconded by Mr. Gonsalas.
if the clerk would like me to, I'd be happy to work with the Department of Economic Development to try to get those numbers for you, if you'd like you to do that. Sure.
If you could, we appreciate that. Moved by Ms. Daniels, second by Mr. Gonsalas to defer.
All the rest of them the same?
Let's defer 265, 266.
Roll call.
Other two are.
To defer to the next meeting?
Defer all of them, Troy?
No, just this one.
Make sure you know that.
I know.
Vote.
We defer.
The rest have it?
That motion carries.
I didn't know if you caught
That
that.
applies to every one of those.
From that company.
From Bioenergy?
You still have to take a vote.
Yes, yes, sir. Summary number 267, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of NRF Bioenergy LLC for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone 2711 North Side Road.
You missed one, Mr. Chairman.
Move to,
To deferment, you missed 266, but we'll go back.
oh, they all look alike. We're on 267.
Okay.
We'll go back to 266.
Move for deferment.
Moved by Ms. Daniels to defer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. Roll call. Been a long day. Mr. Ditch, thank you. That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Summary number 266, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of NRF Bioenergy LLC for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone Program, 3512 J. Patu Burns Road. Move to defer by Ms. Daniels. Second by Mr. Ditch. Discussion. Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 268, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of Community First Bank for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone, 1101 East Admiral Doyle Drive. Moved by Mr. Broussard, second by Mr. Ditch. Discussion. We okay on this one?
Yes, sir. In fact, they're to be committee. They fully, you can see the attachment shows what they intend to generate.
If bank is it?
Roll call. That motion carries. Summary number 269, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of Community First Bank for the Louisiana Enterprise Zone Program, Louisiana 182. Moved by Mr. Trahan. Second by Mr. Ditch. Discussion. Roll call. Mr. Brown? That motion carries.
I was told by Mr. Benny Bernard that this past we got our interest rates lowered.
I think he's coming up to comment on that now.
Oh, okay.
To hand out those certificates. You got any comments, Mr. Maynard?
Well, as all the discussion has been, the economy, don't expect interest rates were going to go up, but don't expect them to go up now. I don't think you're going to see the Fed be increasing interest rates anytime soon. That's my comment on that.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Benny.
Thank you. Summary number 270, introduced by the parish president, a resolution amending the 2015 Disaster Relief Fund budget in the amount of $173,000 to provide funding for the hurricane preparation, all to be funded from the fund balance previous year's line item. Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Ms. Daniels. Discussion.
I have a question.
Mr. Ditch.
This is the issue that was in the finance committee earlier?
Yes.
I have a question procedurally, because we've had a couple of these issues where we weren't allowed to put this on the agenda item pending committee approval on some of the issues at prior meetings. Do you know where the policy changed on this to allow that to happen here?
Well,
Mr. Shealy, do you know?
Which one are you talking about?
270.
270.
It was an item that was addressed in the special finance committee meeting earlier today.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, for instance, on some of these zoning issues, we're not allowed to put them pending approval in a committee process onto these council agendas. And I'm just asking if there was a change or why it was done for this one. I'm not asking you, I was asking more asking Nicole, but I was just asking if you know, not from the council office standpoint. Why it's picking and choosing to do it on certain issues.
The administration asked that this be addressed, and the proper protocol was followed by having the committee meeting in advance.
What I was told specifically on these issues numerous times, as recently as last meeting, was we're not putting anything pending approval in committee on a council agenda to be done. I'm just asking the question.
I would agree with you, but this doesn't say pending approval.
No, what I'm saying though, it was on here. If it had gotten killed in finance, it wouldn't have been
deleted.
addressed tonight.
It would have been deleted.
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking, because they're not letting us do it on other issues, and I just want to
No, I think there are there is some leeway there.
Okay.
That comes from. Yeah, that comes from the chairman and through the advice of the legal department and the staff as we adhere to policy.
And in defense to the chairman, I think that money is to prepare for hurricanes, and we're in hurricane season.
Right.
I think if anything was needed to be addressed.
And the chairman didn't tell me no, and I'm not addressing you.
No,
I'm just,
I understand.
This wasn't anything to do with you.
Yeah. I'm just trying to answer the question the best I can. Mr. Broussard?
The past chairman, you're correct, there are policies, but the agenda is at the discretion of the chairman. Just
Right.
like the committee appointments and everything else, the chairman has the final say-so as to what appears and what doesn't.
And all I can ask is that when we make a request, that it gets to the chairman
I'm
for
not,
his
I'm not
consideration.
disputing what you're saying,
Okay.
but I can understand this one, because if there is a hurricane that would hit, you'd have to call a
Call
special
a
meeting to
special
release
meeting to come
funds.
back.
This is to
In the
avoid.
past,
emergency.
we normally put money aside in a special fund for that.
You okay for now, Mr. Ditch?
I'm just making sure everything is treated the same, every issue.
I'm doing my best.
Not by you.
I'm doing my best, Mr.
I
Ditch.
agree. I appreciate your hard work, Mr. Como.
Thank you, Mr. Ditch. I expect you to be there at my going away party.
David, vote.
My retirement party. Roll
I'll
call.
host it.
I'll hold you to that. We have him on record. That motion carries. Summary number 271, introduced by Marty Trowell in District 13, a resolution amending the resolution number 2015-205, which provided funding for a professional proposal for use in marketing Iberia Parish in order to appropriate additional funding from the 2015 general fund budget in the amount up to $7,000, and all to be funded from the fund balance previous year's line item. Moved by Mr. Trone, second by Mr. Glenn Romero. Discussion, roll call.
I was gonna answer your.
Ms.
General
Daniels?
fund balance is at, projected to be
Ms. Daniels?
1.331.
You asking a question on this
No,
item?
a question I asked her earlier in finance. They're doing this for promotional purposes, and I know we have another source we could have used for promotional.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question, okay?
Earlier, for the special finance committee meeting,
Ms. Daniels has the floor, please.
say it again. On the, special finance, this particular item came up for advertisement, and I know we have some other funding somewhere else, and I was wondering whether or not we could use that other source money rather than taking this out of the general fund. That was
Okay.
my question.
All right. And
And my recommendation is to take it out of general fund because we already have some of general funds, monies budgeted for this particular project, this purpose. Your question was, what was the projected fund balance for general fund for 2015? That amount is right now projected to be 1.331 million.
Okay, do you have the numbers for the promotional, I think that's the Cox Communication? Do you know how much money we have in that?
Is it
Franchise fee.
There's a franchise fee. We used to collect $35,000 to $40,000 a year, and in that fund, it allows us to do the taping of these meetings and other public service announcements, as well as what Ms. Daniels is saying. Those monies could be used for that. I think in the last year's budget, they were just moved all the way to the general fund.
Okay.
I
Fran-
think.
Basically, it's coming up.
The franchise fees are in general fund.
Yeah. But to your point, that's what that fund used to pay for.
Yeah.
Information for the citizens.
Yes.
you good, Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
I just need you to push one of those buttons for me.
My mother told me
One of those buttons. One of those buttons.
You said it right.
One of those buttons. That motion carries. We are now adjourned.